Call to order the BZA meeting for Wednesday, November the 20th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll give a quick explanation of the procedure this evening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that you guys are supporting Colerain Township. Sequence of the events will be followed. Appeals will be heard first. Other business of the board will follow the appeals hearing. You are welcome to stay for the entire meeting, but you're not required to do so. All who testify before the board will be sworn in. This may be done either as a group or individually. Anyone addressing the board is requested to use the speaker stand in front of me. Each person is asked to give his or her name and address when first testifying. Our meetings are recorded, and anyone speaking may be cross-examined by an attorney. All documents, photographs, and other evidences presented for each case may be accepted by the board. The chairman will rule whether additional items being offered will be accepted or rejected, and the person presenting each case may also withdraw the document. The zoning administrator or staff will then give a presentation, a brief summary or statement for each appeal. Once the BZA staff presentation is complete, the appellant will have the opportunity to present their case. Following the appellant's presentation, the chairman will ask for anyone in favor or opposed to appeal to speak. This will be your opportunity to come forward, give your name and address for the record, and speak on the case that's at that instance. In some instances, time limits may be placed on the presentation given the size of our crowd. Following the board, questions, motions, and second will be made by the members of the board to either approve or deny the condition or deny the appeal. The decision of the board is effective 30 days from the vote. Finally, in respect to the process and to each other, it is paramount. The deliberations for each case are taken seriously by this board, and likewise it is expected that the respect be accorded to everyone regardless of any emotion that may be involved. No disruptions of behavior will be tolerated. This extends to all who have testified as well as members of the audience. Anyone being disrupted will be asked to leave the hearing room. I appreciate your attention. The roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartold?
Here.
Ms. Owens?
Present.
Mr. Shutt?
Present.
Mr. Sydow?
President.
Mr. Roberto?
Here. Thank you. The first order of business tonight, we have three cases that are in similarity that I would like to put at the front of the docket and then rearrange the rest. So I would like to have case number 2428, 2430, and 2432 be done in concession, and then followed by case 27, 29, and 31. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Okay, motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second's made. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shook,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow, Mr. Roberto.
Yeah. Thank you. Next, we will swear in all those that plan on speaking this evening. So if you would please stand and raise your right hand. If you plan on speaking, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm you will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before this Board of Zoning Appeals? Say, I do. I do. Thank you. You may be seated. First case this evening would be case BZA 24-28. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
Our first case this evening, BZA 2428, is for 9872 Green River Drive. This is a case for a conditional use. The parcel number is listed on the screen and in the packet. This is in our SUR Single Unit Residential Zoning District. The applicant is Amber Butler, and she's also the property owner. The details of this case include the neighborhood context. It's residential in character. There's a cohesive neighborhood with similar uses. It's about 1,250 feet away from the nearest arterial road. There are no known non-residential uses in the vicinity, and no similar facilities have been previously established. The applicant requests a conditional use to establish a group home. The significance the board needs to look at is that this is the first known request of its kind in this area, and this introduces a new land use to the neighborhood. Okay, the star shows where the property is, and also on the aerial map it's outlined. This is, again, in a heavy residential neighborhood. And if you zoom out even further, you can see that there really just aren't any business uses nearby. This is a picture of the house to show that the house is residential in character. This picture was taken on Monday. So when we look at a conditional use, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall grant approval only when the use is consistent with the following standards. Number one, the use is a conditional use permitted with approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals in the district where the subject lot is located. Number two, the use is in accordance with the objectives of the Colerain Township Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Resolution. Number three, the conditional use will not substantially and/or permanently injure the appropriate use of neighboring properties and will serve the public convenience and welfare. And number four, the use will not create excessive requirements at public cost for public facilities. Staff finds in this particular case that the use is a conditional use in the district. It is listed upon the table as a conditional use. Staff finds that it is in accordance with the objectives of the Colerain Township Zoning Resolution and Comprehensive Plan. There are things about residential uses in each of those. It is staff's opinion that the conditional use will substantially and/or permanently injure the appropriate use of neighboring properties and will not serve the public convenience and welfare. And it's staff's opinion that it will create excessive requirements, i.e. police, at public cost for public facilities and services, and that could be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. For that reason, staff seeks guidance from the board on a recommendation.
Thank you. Is that the end of your
Mr. Roberto?
presentation? Thank you. Is the applicant present? You can please give your name and address for the record and give your appeal.
Amber Butler, 9872 Green River Drive. I sent you a PowerPoint. Are you able to do a PowerPoint
Yeah, I
presentation?
can pull that up.
PowerPoint being submitted for record then?
Yeah, it will be submitted on the record.
Thank you.
We're ready for you.
Okay. As mentioned before, I'm Amber Butler. I am the owner of Creating Opportunities Residential Care Facility. One of our motto quotes is, "We do not know the beginning of a child's story to change the ending." You can go to the next one. Slide. The purpose of Creating Opportunity is to heal, educate, empower at-risk youth to become healthy, productive, and self-sufficient adults. Creating Opportunities will utilize the acceptance and commitment therapy treatment model to address the clinical needs of residents with serious emotional or behavior disorder. We will provide a safe, consistent, stable learning and secure environment for the youth. This right now is a picture of the home in its layout. We have emergency exits with hardwire that provide lights. We have plenty of gaming. We have signs. Each of the bedrooms has 2 beds that will be in the rooms with motivational quotes. And then the bedroom, we have a fire extinguisher as well. And then the services provided. Our group home will offer a range of services, including 24/7 supervision and support. I know one of the issues is thinking that, police will be called on site, but our goal is to have 6 children. At that time, we'll have 2 staff at all shifts, no matter what. If a child is outside playing, it will be a supervised staff at all times. No staff will be left alone. No staff will be no children will be unattended at any time. We'll have an individualized care plan. So whatever that child is need, we will go down to social work, therapy, providing the employees with whatever they need to take care of that child in the full capabilities. We will have life skill training, home etiquette, dressing for success. And then we will work with the community. I have already talked with the YMCA, and if we was to get approved to have a membership where, the kids can volunteer as well. And then my next one is protecting the community. Creating an opportunity group home will protect the community and limit self-destruction by limiting negative influences. We know that these kids come from all different backgrounds. So we have to, make sure we provide and that motivation every day. In the morning time, we're going to ask them how they're feeling when they come home from school. How was your day? How can we make your day better? And then finding those resources, what they need, whether they need that male or that motherly and figure, and try to help their life be better. Finding resources as far as job, career opportunities. And then develop self-awareness, challenge the negative thoughts. Why are you thinking this negative thought? Where is this coming from? How can we help you? Engage and create outlooks, whether that's journaling, finding their hobbies, and then establishing healthy routines, creating their, an everyday flow. Every day the children will have chores, far as washing dishes, cleaning their clothes, because our goal is we're not raising boys, we're gonna raise men. We have to teach them, hey, this is the proper way to wash dishes, this is the proper way to do laundry. And then staying engaged, and then teaching different coping mechanisms. And then I'm ready for the next one. And then the impact to the community. Establishing this group home will not only address the urgent needs of individuals, but also bring numerous benefits to the community's job creation, increase community awareness, improving the quality of life. These children out here is, it's such a, a need, especially for men and boys. Boys, they're losing their life at a younger age because they don't have people like us to help them and give them a better opportunity. We just, put them in these institutions where no one is personalizing their care. It's just like no one is giving them the attention that they need. And finally, we are committed to adhering to all local, state, and federal regulation governing the group home. We will work closely with all the relevant agencies to ensure that our facility meet all of the safety and operation standards. And with the resources provided, our goal is to be a beacon of light and to serve the community well. So.
Thank you. You have anything else to add?
No, I know one of the biggest concerns is that, with this group home opening, far as, the neighbors of it, being, far as their property value, and this goal is not to, decrease any property value, and we not gonna, our kids is not gonna do any harmful things to the property or anything, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else that's speaking in favor? Anyone speaking in favor? Ma'am? Did you sign in? Yes. Okay, come on up and give your name and address to the record, please.
My name is Shandra Gray. I'm at 6939 Daybreak Drive.
Thank you.
I'm just in favor of the group homes. The fact that they are providing better care for children. To me, I look at it as like an adoption program, not necessarily behavioral. These kids there's kids that lost parents, they don't have any guidance, and they're just trying to provide a better home and a space for the children to be raised and loved, not to look at as if it's a facility and they have behavior issues and they're just bad kids. They're trying to provide homes and give them a motherly figure, a father figure, and teach them things, and not just throw them to the side because they have some type of issue. So I'm in favor of group homes, and I look at it more as an adoption type situation versus a halfway house or a facility, how group homes are looked at in today's society.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else speaking in favor of this appeal? Anyone speaking in opposition to this appeal? I've got a few names on the list. Okay, go ahead, sir. What name and address?
Reginald Sawyer, 9852 Green River Drive.
Reginald Sawyer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have questions and concerns about a group home being opened on the street. If this is okay, then what stops another group home from coming into the neighborhood so that it no longer is a residential area? The question I have is about kids that are coming from homes that have issues. Do these kids have any psychological issues? Do they have any criminal background that is going to be on the street? And also residential property. When people are looking to move into a home and they find out that there is a group home on the street, how is that going to affect, or will it affect, people that are trying to sell their property? And also, what I would like to know is, have there been any statistics on what has happened in the neighborhood when there are group homes that are on the streets? Now, I will tell you this. I worked for Hamilton County for 22 years. I was Hamilton County Security Manager. I'm well aware of the group homes, and I know the group homes have had problems that required police to respond, that the people that were overseeing them could not control what was going on. So I have concerns and questions. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Kim, I saw you signed up as well. Do you want to speak at all?
Just saying that, I know some people who work for group homes, and I know the issues that they've had with the children. So it's not just really perfect. You know, there's gonna be problems, and I need to know how those problems are gonna be handled.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I'm gonna go to the top of my list and just, so I got a Richard Harkin signed up for this one. Let me give your name and address for the record, please.
Richard Harker, 9880 Green River Drive, right next door. I have concerns about everything the last gentleman said. Property tax, value of the house, is it good for the neighborhood? That's my concerns. So I totally agree with the last guy, what he said. I'm really nervous about that. And is it great for the community? I don't think it is. There's nothing around. I just disagree with it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next I see is a Joshua, is it Gary? Again, state your name and address for the record, please.
Joshua Gary, 9873 Green River Drive. Actually, I'm a certified residential appraiser. I live right across the street from this. So as far as my concerns are more value-oriented, appraisal-oriented, and the questions are, first of all, we live in a single-family residential neighborhood of all single-family residential neighbors. There is no multifamily within just under a mile from us, even a single multifamily property. Your zoning resolution states shall only be permitted in MURs, multi-unit residential. That's where it states that any halfway house, group home may only be, I'm not sure why there should be any discussion on why we're changing that first. It says it right there, it's straight up in your resolution. Your staff findings support this. We're also looking as an appraisal thing. Like the gentleman here said, we all bought our houses with the clear understanding that we bought them in a single-family residential neighborhood. That when you guys start changing the rules on us, changing the values of our houses, changing the taxes on our houses by bringing in commercial properties, and this isn't a rental property, this is a commercial property, it's a business being ran out of there. You change our values. Does anybody here know how our taxes are gonna be changed next year? Does anybody know how our property values are gonna be changed next year? Any question? You guys are the appraisal board. Does anybody have any ideas on this? Does anybody have any idea how much a halfway house in the middle of nothing but single-family residential properties will affect it. I don't, I'm an appraiser. I tried to do the appraisal. I couldn't. There is nothing, there is no reference for this in our township. I don't see why we should start that now. And the reason I don't see that we should start that now is there's a track record of these things happening in other cities. Dayton, for one, 2022, they put out a thing. I think the city of Dayton actually put out a request for moratorium on opening residential properties for, I think it was 180 days. Police calls were up 75% to these. And here's the thing, that's fine, people need a place to go. But very rarely are these residential properties serving the people of our community. They're shipped from all over Ohio. Very rarely are they people here that we're helping here. Okay, taxes, property values, ability. All of us, if we want to sell our houses, let me ask you this. I got a house on my street. I live right across 9873 Green River Drive, 9873 Pinedale's, almost an identical house to me. If both of them were for sale, do you think I could get the same amount from my house as the house across one street over with a halfway house living in right across the street from me? As an appraiser, I would have to take that into account. And the truth is, I don't know how to, because there is no precedent for it, as there shouldn't be. Next thing, just general stuff. This is a one-lane road with parking on one side of the street on a cul-de-sac. It's a very narrow street with very limited parking. There's a thing that says they're hiring 10 employees. They're gonna have 2 people there every day. They're gonna have individualized service for these people. They're gonna have to have people coming in, social service, CPS, social work, all these people coming and going constantly for that. There's no place for them to park. And we shouldn't have to give up what limited parking we have to accommodate non-residents. Police, we talked about police coming. There is always a huge increase in police. Dayton, it was up 75% in 2022, going to halfway houses. That's huge. We just couldn't even pass a police levy. You know, do we really want to tax the police more? Like I said, I get that we're talking about, children, and I'm not opposed to that. But you're talking about sticking 6 children in the middle of a residential area with nothing around. There is no activities they can walk to. There's no park they can get to without a car, without somebody taking them. It is a landlocked neighborhood. I'm pretty sure with the issues that we're talking about them trying to address, that they're not going to be able to go out and run around the neighborhood free and out to do things without one. So they're really in a position that this neighborhood offers nothing for them. With that being said, I don't see any logic in going forward with this. I'm not opposed, and I'm not opposed to helping children and everything else, but we're also talking about people that live here, pay our taxes here, and we bought this house in a single-family neighborhood for a reason, and that's what we want it to be. That's it for me.
Thanks,
Thank you
sir.
all very much.
Thank you. Next I have on my list is Candy Pierce, Gary. Again, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, I'm Dr. Candy Pierce-Gary. I live at 9873 Green River Drive. I am an educator, and I am also concerned about the same things that everyone else is concerned too, but I also don't think that this is a good location for a group home. For the reasons that my husband stated, for the fact that group homes are not the ideal placement for teenage people, that hired staff are not really a family environment. So I don't think it's best for the children, and I definitely don't think it's best for our community.
Thank you, ma'am. I see no one else that has signed up for this sheet. Do we have a motion to close the public portion for this case?
A motion to close the public portion.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Saito,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Okay, we're going to be asking some questions, and Ms. Owens, I can let you start tonight. Do you have any questions for the applicant or anyone that spoke?
Sure. Questions for the applicant, please?
Ma'am, if you'll come up to the podium, should I ask you some questions? Thank you.
Thank you. As you were presenting, I did jot down a few things. A couple questions. Where exactly are the children? How do you get your placements for the group home?
From all the counties' job and family services,
And what's the typical age range?
from 10 to 18.
And do you currently operate any other locations within or close by or within communities close by?
I currently do not.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay. Mr. Barber?
Yep. So I guess the first question would be, like, your experience. Is this your first?
This is my
Location?
first group home, but I have over 10 years' experience with children.
Doing the same thing?
Correct.
Okay. And why did you pick this location?
Because this is a different environment for the kids. It's not in an urban area where they have those negative influences. They have better education out here. It's more secured out here. They don't have to worry about, a shot being fired at them. It's all around safer.
And it's true that this is allowed in multi-unit zoned areas.
Yeah, if I could clear a few things up.
Yeah.
Would you like me to? It is true it's allowed by right in MUR, multi-use residential, by our zoning text. If you look at the use table, it's conditionally allowed through the Board of Zoning Appeals in SUR, single unit residential. So it is allowed, but nobody can do it by right. Somebody mentioned, how do they know another group home wouldn't move in? We have a rule in our zoning code where if there's a group home, you can't have another group home for children or halfway house within 600 feet. So that won't be an issue. We have nothing to do with appraisal, and there's a lot of things cities can do that townships can't. And the last thing I'll say is, if somebody applies for the Board of Zoning Appeals, as Ms. Butler did, we have to hear the case. So this is not, us hearing the case is not an endorsement of the case. We hear all the facts here, but if anyone assumes that the township is or is not taking sides on it, we're just hearing the case here. So I would like everyone to have an open mind about that moving forward. But yes, Mr. Bartolt, it is allowed conditionally in the SUR.
Okay, thanks. Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Do you own this house?
I do own this house. So I actually started this process before this rule got into effect. So what happened with mine and why I had to file this appeal is because I didn't know that I had to be fully in operation before June the 14th. So if I was fully in operations where the state had came out, this group home would already have started.
But did you look for any locations in multi-use zoned areas? Like if you had looked, and I don't know where that would, if you have a quick example of where multi-unit, like
Most of
Springdale
them
Road or
are
something?
on the south half of the township or along Colerain Avenue.
Okay. I was just curious if you had researched the multi-unit residential areas to know where you could actually be legitimately, so you wouldn't have to come before the board.
Yeah, so before, when I first started this process, this rule wasn't in place.
This meaning which
About
rule? The rule for the multi-unit?
Ms. Butler applied for a zoning permit and allowed it to expire, and that's what she's referencing. So when she applied for a new zoning certificate, we have to go under our current regulations.
Okay, all right.
So-
And so the call them students, the residents do come just locally? They're just local? Or you mentioned counties
Yeah, so they can be locally, or they can come from like Claremont County, Warren County.
Okay. And then, what happens if one of the residents just isn't working out? I'm not gonna say they're bad, but let's say there's some situations that come up where a certain individual is creating problems. What happens to that person?
We'll send them back to the county.
Okay. All right, I think that's it.
Okay, Mr. Saito?
Everybody's asked the same questions that I've asked, I was going to ask, so no further questions.
Mr. Shup?
Yep, Mrs. Owens got mine.
Okay. How do you propose handling the traffic situation that's been brought up?
So, currently, we wouldn't have that issue. I have a driveway as well. I can fit in my garage one car, and I also has at least 2 or 3 cars can fit in my driveway. I don't think it would be an issue far as my group home. We have, right next to 9873, I believe, across diagonal from me. So at 9881, it's actually a group of Hispanics that live there who takes up all the parking lots. There's about 30 people who live in that. So I don't think it will be the issue of my group home taking up all the parking.
And I mentioned traffic, not necessarily parking, but you did address that next question. So,
Far as traffic, far as the flow of people coming in and out, or
additional people coming in and out to see the students or youth, and any other services that you're going to be offering?
so we actually will be going to those facilities.
You would be leaving there with them?
Correct.
Okay. And so this is really a bed-only service that you're providing there then? Is that, so you're doing these other services outside of the?
Far as like home adequate, skills and stuff like that, we will provide those in-house. But, like the community engagement and stuff like that, we will go, like the YMCA as well, different activities.
Now, as part of your application, you provided us a kind of a schematic or drawing of what your intended locations of your students, but I don't see anywhere where your resident or your the people that are living there, where they're going to be residing. Are they in the garage or basement? Where are they?
Who, the people who.
So you have,
The staff.
I say
The
three.
The staff don't stay there. It's a 24/7. The staff is just working there. No staff will be living there.
So that you're going to have 6 young adults unattended for during that time?
No, it's going to be staff there 24/7, 2 adults there at all times on each
Right.
shift.
So where are they at in this schematic that you provided us?
Okay, they will be in the living room area. So I don't know if I provided the picture of like the couch area where they'll be sitting. And then there's a dining room.
You have 2 floors. The bottom floor, we see a garage, and then there's an office.
Correct.
And then the top floor, I see living room, dining room, and then the
Yep.
3 bedrooms with the 2 beds in each room.
Correct.
Okay. I have no other questions.
I think I had one more.
Okay, Mr. Bartle?
So during the summer, obviously, there's no school, and most kids like to just hang out and do stuff. So I'm just curious what happens during the summer.
Yes, that's when we'll have summer camps as well.
So you're taking them somewhere?
Correct.
And you said the ages were 10 to 18, so you could have a 10-year-old and an 18-year-old at the same time?
Yeah, so a 18-year-old will only be allowed there if they were 17 and they turned 18 while they're in the home.
Okay, but in the summertime,
Correct.
the chances are they
we'll
could just
have-
be outside a lot,
Yeah, so we'll have age-appropriate camps and activities.
off-site.
Correct.
Okay,
And then I do have a backyard if they were playing, but the staff will be with them to do activities in the backyard as well.
okay.
I had one follow-up question. So are these boys only?
Correct.
All right. Any other questions? Ma'am, you can sit down. Does anyone have a motion to approve or deny this appeal?
Well, since this is a conditional use that stays with the property, forever.
Conditional uses aren't required by law, as far as I know, to be forever, but it is, and does have to be spelled out in our zoning resolution if we do make them temporary. So for all intents and purposes, this would be a forever thing you're approving.
Correct. Okay. With that stipulation in mind, I make a motion to deny the variance.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Well, only that,
Good.
I say that because things could be going, well for the first 2-3 years. And then what happens 10 years from now? It's still a group home. Maybe you have moved on to another property, or you quit doing it altogether and somebody takes over and that person isn't running it well. And at that point, you've got neighbors who have to deal with the end result of this property being called a group home, I guess, like I said, for as long as everybody's around. So that's the main reason.
Okay, that was the discussion part. Anybody else discussion? Okay, we've had a motion, we've had a second, we've discussed. Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sido,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Your motion has been denied. We'll move on to case number BZA 24-30. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
BZA-24-30 is 3204 Sienna Drive. The case type is also a conditional use. You'll see a lot of the facts of this case are similar to the last one. The zoning district is SUR single unit residential. The applicant is Danica Jones, and she is also the property owner. The details in this case are the neighborhood context. The characteristics of the neighborhood are that we have a primarily single-family homes and low-density development. There's no recorded history of non-residential uses or similar facilities in this neighborhood. It's residential in character, and at the corner of Sienna Drive and Pottinger Road. It's approximately 2 blocks from Struble Road, which would be the nearest arterial street. The density of the lots directly north are significantly less dense, as you'll see, than those along Sienna Drive. The overall population density in this area is also lower than other parts of the SUR single unit residential zoning district. There was a previous request in September 2024 for this case to be heard, but the case was withdrawn by the applicant. This is the property. We have, this is the only one tonight that's on a corner lot. And you can see the pin over the house. That's the corner of Pottinger and Sienna Drive. And this is aerial imagery of the same parcel. And then we kind of zoomed out, and you can see it's still residential in character. It's still somewhat dense, but to the north we get to less dense parcels. This is a picture of the house that was taken on Monday, and I wanted to illustrate that it is on a corner. It is on a corner lot with a larger yard than a lot of our SUR properties. So as we discussed the conditional use and what we look at when we review those in the previous case, staff findings based upon those are it's staff's opinion the use is conditional in the district where the subject lot is located. Again, on the use table, SUR is conditional use. It's staff's opinion that the use is in accordance with the objectives of the Colerain Township Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Resolution. It's staff's opinion the conditional use will substantially and or permanently injure the appropriate use of neighboring properties and will not serve the public convenience and welfare. And it's staff's opinion that the use will or might create excessive requirements at public cost for public facilities and services that could be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. For that reason, staff seeks guidance from the board. Mr. Roberto.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Will you come and give your presentation, ma'am? And state your name and address for the record.
Danica Jones, 3204 Sienna Drive. My name is Danica Jones. I'm currently a resident of the Colerain community and have been since 2016. I'm currently a registered nurse and currently working as the Director of Nursing for Sabre Healthcare. I have experience in mental health and behavioral disorders, crisis intervention, and understanding of neglect and abuse, as well as trauma-informed care. My decision to open Inspiring Youth Group Home is totally driven by my commitment to make a positive change and addressing a gap in a support system for vulnerable adolescents and teens. Today, I would just like to discuss our conditional use request for the group home located for the property at 3204 Sienna Drive. I would like to address the staff findings. Number one, conditional use in the district compliance. We do acknowledge that our proposed use is a conditional use in a district where the property is located. Our group home will operate in compliance with all relevant zoning regulations, ensuring it will not negatively impact neighboring property. Number two, in accordance with the comprehensive plan and zoning resolution, as noted, we do believe our project aligns directly with the objectives of both the comprehensive plan and zoning resolution. Our facility offers residential care for children with complex needs, a service that is greatly needed within a community. We are fully committed to fulfilling the mission of providing safe, supportive, and therapeutic care, which aligns with the township's goals for social well-being and community health. Number three, the concerns about injuring neighboring properties. While we do understand the concern is raised regarding potential negative impacts on neighboring properties, we respectfully disagree with the opinion that our group home will substantially injure neighboring properties or public welfare. Unlike halfway houses or the facilities for adults with criminal backgrounds, our group home exclusively serves children with medical disabilities and histories of trauma and abuse only. We will screen each child referred to our program, and we would not accept children with any criminal background or violent history. Our children in our care will undergo a thorough assessment by me and a social worker, and we will have a detailed care plan in place to ensure that each child's needs are met in a safe and nurturing environment. Moreover, our facility will house a maximum of 6 children with a trained, responsible adult for 24 hours a day. We will provide supervision, care, and support. And additionally, an on-site registered nurse will be present at all times, ensuring that medical needs are addressed promptly. The level of care and oversight ensures that the safety of our children in the community and the neighboring properties will be okay. The concerns about public costs and facilities, we are aware of those concerns as well regarding the potential burden of public facilities and services. However, our facility will have a minimal impact on public resources. We are committed to ensuring that the children in our care have access to education, therapy, and health services within our facility. Minimizing the need for additional public services, we will also work closely with our local organizations and service providers to ensure that our presence supports rather than burdens the community. I would like to also add that our group home is not a halfway house. A halfway house typically serves adults of those re-entering the society of incarceration or substance abuse treatment. In contrast, our group home is designed specifically to care for children facing significant challenges such as medical disabilities, trauma, abuse, and neglect. We are building a future for these children, not only by providing a safe and loving home, but also focusing on their needs for education, therapy, character development, and overall well-being. Our staff members will be fully trained and educated to meet the unique needs of each child, and we would take a team approach, which include a licensed nurse, educators, and therapists. We do understand there are many concerns related to the nature of group homes in general, but we assure you that our operations are distinct from those of halfway houses and will be a positive and stable addition to our community.
Thank you, ma'am. Have anything else to present?
No.
Okay. Anyone else speaking in favor of this appeal? Ma'am, did you sign up on the sheet too?
Yes.
Okay. Come forward then. Come to the podium and do the same exact thing. You got a name and address for the record, please.
Shanda Gray at 6939 Daybreak Drive. I'm just in favor of the group home. And like she was speaking of, some group homes have different issues. Some are behavioral. You have all type of different children. When the children are being assessed, you have the option to deny or accept. You don't have to accept anyone that actually come into the homes. And as she was speaking, hers is mainly for the trauma and neglect, so it's a different type of home for the children. And they need care as well. I'm not sure if all the group homes are being denied, where these children will go if they're just in the system and needing assistance.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone speaking in favor of this appeal? Ma'am? I have you signed in on another sheet, but I'll go ahead and transfer your name over, if it's okay. I'll put you on this sheet as well. Thank you. Just name and address for the record, please.
Amber Butler, 9872 Green River Drive. I am in favor of a group home. This will be a true help for the children. This just not a revolving door or looked at as a halfway. This will help benefit every kid. And if it is any issues, it's not like that they can't get different children's. We really look at the kids, examine them, and provide all the help and not the hindrance to the community. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else speaking in favor of this appeal? No, none. Anyone speaking in opposition? I have several other names. I'll start the list. I'm assuming that this is going to be yourselves. This is Michael Kuth. Cool, excuse me. Want to come and give your name and address for the record, please?
I'm Mike Cool. I live over on 10509 Pottinger Road, which is 2 parcels from where the group home's gonna be. And I'm in opposition of having it in my neighborhood. I own about a 3-acre tract that we purchased over 30 years ago. Tripled the value of our property. And if I wanted to live in a multi-unit area, I would move next to an apartment building. I don't want a group home in my neighborhood. I live where I do because of what it is, and I don't want it. And that's why I'm here tonight, to voice my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
I've got a 40 by 50 pole barn in my yard, and if you're gonna allow them to put 6 people in a small 3-bedroom bi-level house, then I can drywall my pole barn and put 20 people in there, right? I mean, I'm 600 feet away. So rules are rules. I'll be back.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is this Jacqueline Half? You don't need to speak? Okay. I'm going to mark you that you didn't speak. Okay. How about Chad Ballard? State your name and address for the record, please.
Chad Ballard, 9960 Capstan Drive.
Thanks, sir.
I guess my concern would be, it seems like this Colerain Health and Rehab and the Sabre Health, it seems like when you look online, they have multiple places throughout. This particular one it seems like from Dayton, Ohio. Is that all the same place? But it all checks out. But they don't have the best reviews. People go online saying terrible, do not send your loved ones here. Find other places, even if it's your dog or cat, would not recommend. And that's just a quick Google search on this particular one. But there's plenty of them all over from what I've seen.
Okay.
But I can give that to you. Do you want that?
Yeah, you can submit it. I'll look at it and see whether or not we want to admit it as a record. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm not going to submit it as a record because it's really there's no merit or value to it from anybody can say anything bad about anybody. So we won't submit it. If you want to, we'll go ahead and get that back to you. But I appreciate you bringing that up. And Chad, I got you. How about Jeff Powell?
My name is Jeffrey Powell. I'm at 10470 Pottinger, directly across the street from the property. I got a couple concerns. Number one, she stated that it's only going to be a certain type of kids, mentally disabled or physically disabled kids. There's not going to be people with criminal history. As you mentioned, if this is allowed, well, it's in future. So what's changing that from happening in 6 months? I mean, I already have a point. My kid's bike was stolen out of my front yard 6 months ago. I just don't feel comfortable with putting this. I mean, yes, we need a place for kids to go, but I don't feel like a residential neighborhood is the environment, right? A residential neighborhood is where people bought a single-family house for their family, not this situation. And then I've got personal concerns. I haven't met this neighbor. I'm assuming it's the same lady. Wasn't last year, I don't know about the year before, but the past couple of years prior to that, every 4th of July, every major holiday, we're out in the backyard, incredibly loud music, shooting guns, at terrifying directions, fireworks out in the middle of Pottinger, which is a maid-feeder road, as mentioned. This doesn't give me a real warm fuzzy, right? If we can't be careful with firearms, and we're going to be putting a group home of kids, I'm deadly against it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Randy Hart.
My name's Randy Hart. I'm at 10456 Pottinger, which is straight across the street from it.
Thanks, sir.
And like everybody said before, there's no parking around there. There's a one-car garage on the property. There's maybe room for 2 cars in the driveway. The road on that road, it's completely packed full of cars all the time. You can't find a parking spot over there if you wanted one. I got a big driveway on my side. And my concerns is, my son's been in one of these group homes, actually 4 or 5 of them, in Dayton, in very, very bad situations. You know, he's needed to go to doctors, there's nobody taking him to a doctor. He's needed to go to court, there's nobody taking him to court. He ain't got no driver's license, so he can't get there. And it's in the middle of a neighborhood, there's not a bus route for any of these kids to get medical help, you know. Like I said, and I don't want, we got bad enough. We got Rumpke smells. We can't sell our house because the Rumpke's stinking in the middle of the summer. And now we're going to have a group home across the street. It's just going to drop my property value to where it's nothing. I mean, that's where I stand on it. I know kids need help, but Mount Healthy's full of old houses. It's full of bedrooms and older houses. It's got yards, and it's got Metro bus system right there. It's got the cross-county highway right there where they, you know, I mean, it's just not a good location for this at all, in my opinion. But, you know, I mean, it's my opinion. It's like everybody else. Everybody's got an opinion, but that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Whitney Whitaker.
Whitney Whitaker, 10482 Pottinger Road. First, I'd like to say I know all of these guys, right? They're all my neighbors. I've seen them around town. I don't think I've ever met you before or seen you. I admire everything that you ladies are doing. Just am not for this going right across the street from my house. These are all my neighbors. We know each other very well. Operational plan for success. Group homes, from what I did research on, they all do increase property value. Some that are successful, they don't increase property value as much, but I have seen that, I mean, everywhere it's going to increase property value. But I don't know what that success plan looks like 24/7. I think I would need more to be on board with this. 24/7 supervision. Third. Average age range, I don't think I saw that answered. Male or female, I don't think I saw that question. Background check, she did say they would. I didn't see any like group home statistics, like how long do they stay up and running? I didn't see any sort of statistics that I would have liked to. Why was the original meeting canceled that we had scheduled on October 23rd? Thought that would be, unless I missed that.
It was in the presentation. It was the application withdrew it.
Nothing for the kids to do. I have two very small young children that would be right across the street from that. Not against kids getting help, just with me having my own children, but I'm just not super stoked to have a group home right across the street from my children and my house. And there's nothing for them to do. My kids, we've built like a backyard for our kids that they have a pool, they have a playhouse, they have a trampoline. Like, we've done that for our children there, and I have not seen one thing go up across the street from me that would reflect children living there, if that makes sense. And I don't know if she even currently lives there or not. I don't see much going on over there, and that concerns me if we would be having multiple children moving in over there. I don't see new furniture or any remodeling or anything like that going on, so that would be a huge concern as well. That is, I think, all that I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I see no one else on this list that asked to speak. Did I miss anyone?
Yeah.
Not on this sheet. Rob, come on up. I'll put you in here. Yoakum, how do you spell your last name?
Y-O-A-K-U-M.
Okay, and your what address?
3205 Sienna Drive. It's kind of hot in here, ain't it?
Yeah.
Very good, sir.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than everyone else already has. I've been there 32 years, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, it's a good place to live. I love it there. And what happens if it doesn't work out? We're the ones left picking up the pieces. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I see no one else is speaking, correct? Do we have a motion to close the public portion for this case?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and second been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartelt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sido,
Yes.
and Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Mr. Seidel, I'll let you go. I'll start off this time. You got any questions for the applicant or anyone that spoke?
Yes, I have some questions for Ms. Jenkins, Ms. Jones. How many children are you planning on having at this home, or in what ages?
It will be 6 children, ages of 12 to 18.
And how many bedrooms does this home have?
It's 3 bedrooms upstairs, and it's a lower level down.
Okay, and you live at this home?
I do. I own the home. I used to live there. I raised 2 children there, 2 girls. I currently left the home to make it operate it for a group home. So I'm not currently living in the home, no.
Are you still a resident of Colerain Township? Or?
I am.
Okay, that's the only questions I had. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shup?
Yes, Mr. Jones, where were these children be coming from?
They will be coming from Hamilton County Justice Center. I mean, not the Justice, Job and Family Services, not the Justice Center. They'll be coming from Job and Family Services.
Okay, in what counties?
It will be Hamilton County.
You can restrict it to just Hamilton County.
Correct.
That was my question.
That it? Okay. Ms. Owens?
You mentioned that you previously owned the property. How long have you owned the property?
I've owned it since 2016 is when I purchased the home. I raised my 2 daughters there. We moved out last year. I built a house on the other side of Colerain.
And when you talked about the group home, you kind of started off saying that it was different kids, mostly with medical disabilities. Can you go a little further into that, please?
Not necessarily physically medical disabilities. The children will be chosen strategically. So meaning when I say they have medical, they can have some medical and behavior disorders. However, we're not selecting children in our group home to have criminal or those criminal background or like aggravated behaviors and things like that. So that would be more of children with neglect, been abused with some form of trauma, and any kind of medical or behavioral disorder on that end, not the more of the violent children.
And on average, whether with your experience or what you know about the similar type model homes, what's the average stay of a child there?
So the stay is however you make it and how you work with the children. So a group home can be very successful. You can have a child with these disorders that you get involved in activities, keep them busy, get them the therapy that they need, get them rehabilitated, and get them off either back with their families if they're able to go back to their family, or to get them set up for the community. So they can grow there from 12 to 17, and then our job as the owners and as the staff workers is to prepare them for life. So help them get their apartments, help them get on their own, and get them, ready to go out into the world as they become adults. So it really just depends on what you make it.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Mr. Bartle?
So you picked this location because you own the property, correct?
I picked the location because I lived there. It was a quiet neighborhood, a quiet street. I raised my daughter there. Me having 6 children from Job and Family Services would be no different if I birthed those children on my own, because once we accept these children, they become my family. So they are considered a residential facility. It's not a halfway house. It's not a behavior home for kids. When I accept the children, they will become my family, so it will be no different with me raising them. So I chose the home because I lived there. I raised my 2 daughters there. They had great opportunities for activities in the neighborhood. They had education provided, and I got them in extracurricular activities, and I would do the same for the group home. That's my plan.
Do you have other locations?
No.
This is your first
Yes.
attempt?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you can't speak for the other applicants that are similar to yours, but is there a reason why we're seeing this uptick in applicants wanting to do group homes?
I think the need for the children has increased. So, and this has been in a plan for years. I started this process 4 years ago. The downtown Job and Family Service has been backed up, so it's been a delay. So everybody's applications has been on hold for whatever reason. We would have to ask the county that. So it's just been a process. When I initially started, we were in a R6 zoning area at the time, so this wasn't an issue with having to be zoned because it wasn't a requirement. But I guess the need, as everyone is applying for it, it became an issue.
Yeah, I was just curious if maybe there was some new state program or some sort of new funding or...
I believe that the needs are heavier. I do know in the Dayton area, the needs were over, so they were sending them down to Cincinnati. They have no place for these children to go. So the need is a lot.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
You note that there's going to be a 24-hour-a-day on-site therapist. That's going to be the staff that's going to be overseeing them during their sleeping hours too, then?
The RN will be there and a house manager. The therapist is not going to be present 24 hours, but the therapist will be available.
Okay, and so in this 3-bedroom home, where are the staff going to reside? And the children, obviously they'll be in the 3 bedrooms. I'm assuming you have 2 beds per bedroom. So where will the staff be?
The staff will be around in a home, so it's a lower level, it's an upper level. It'll be a staff lower, if the kids wanna be down in a lower level, it will be a staff member supervising that area, and if they wanna be upstairs, they'll be upstairs in that area. So if they're in a living room, dining room area, wherever they are, they will have supervision.
There was mention about parking being pretty limited. How are you addressing that?
Yes, so the parking is, I have one, car driveway, so we have a car in the driveway, and then it will be 2 cars in the driveway that someone can park. But the parking should never be an issue. They're not gonna be, people coming to the house. We would send them out, we would take them out on our own. The staff, there'll be rotating hours. It will be 7 to 3 p.m. shift, 3 to 11, and then 11 to 7, and they will come and go. So they'll, when one come, the other one, when one go, the other one will come.
How are you planning on handling when a child is just not controllable?
So our staff will be trained for a structured approach with behavior management. Our children are planned to have a daily schedule, so which includes not only the 24-hour supervision, but they will be scheduled for in-school, sports, arts, volunteer work for the community. They'll have fitness, we'll do field trips, as well as they'll be attending their weekly therapy. We also would do celebration with the children. They would go on vacations. We have plans for them not to just be sitting around doing anything, getting bored. We have a lot of plans in place for our children.
Okay. I have no further questions. Any other questions to be addressed to the audience or?
No, sir.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make the motion to deny the request.
Okay. And do we have a second to that effect?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second has been made. Discussion? You want to give a reason or a background as to why you made the decision? Same as before?
Just because it's a decision that can affect the residents for decades and decades and decades.
The public portion has been closed, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So,
Yeah, I would
motion-
recommend that the board state their rationale as detailed as they can.
Say that
So
again.
I would recommend that the board state the rationale for the denial or the approval, whatever their decision is, with as much
That's what he-
detail as
That's
possible.
what he just did, is that it affects the community at large for a longer period of time because this is a conditional use that carries with the property. Did I succinct that?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, I mean, I
And we don't know if 5 years from now, if she decides to not do this anymore, somebody could take it over and be a lot worse than she is. We just don't know.
Right. So a motion's been made, seconded, and we've discussed it. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Go ahead, Ms. Owens.
Can I hear the objection to that?
Could you answer
Can I hear the objection to that?
from the audience?
Yes. We had to.
Hold on a second. So do we close the public portion, trying to figure out how we can put that toothpaste back in the tube?
Well, I think it still would be, an inquiry. If you've got a question, I think that could still be answered.
So from a discussion standpoint, you can ask the question, so yes.
So in the effort to be detailed, as we were asked, the motion is because this continues to affect the neighborhood if this particular owner of the group home decides to vacate, sell, what have you.
Correct.
You mentioned something about a condition that can be placed.
No, we would have to have a path outlined specifically in our zoning resolution that explains temporary or non-permanent, shall we say, conditional uses. Since we don't have that, then we can't make those. If in every conditional use we make, conditional uses do expire if the use is discontinued for 2 years. But if the use is continued to expire, it continues in perpetuity. So that's the only way out of it is if they stop being a group home for 2 years altogether.
So 2
Does that
years
answer your question?
after they stop being a group home, 2 years, continue for 2 years, and then it goes away.
The conditional use would expire.
Yeah.
You have any questions? At this point, the public portion is closed. So we're in the discussion portion, so that's where we're at. And we've had a motion, we've had a second, we're discussing, and we're making a decision.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, discussions? All right, roll call vote.
Did we have a second?
We did.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Stay.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Your appeal has been denied, ma'am. All right, case number BZA 24-32.
I'll give it just a minute while the audience clears out.
Sure. And for those of you that are remaining, if you could just check your phone, put them on silent, please. 32.
Okay. The board's ready?
Yeah. The case BZA 24-32, do you have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, our final conditional use case of the night before we get to the variances is 3102 Glen Air Drive. The parcel number is listed on the screen and in the packet. This is also in the SUR Single Unit Residential Zoning District. The applicant is Angelique Payne and the property owner is Tywanda Slaughter. The context of this neighborhood, the characteristics, it's predominantly single-family homes, low-density development. We're around 1,700 feet from Pippin Road, which is the nearest arterial road. So it's very residential in character. The conditional use is being requested to establish a group home. This is the first known proposal for a group home in this neighborhood. It introduces a new land use requiring the board to evaluate the potential impacts on adjacent properties and the compatibility with overall residential character of the neighborhood. So if you look at this, we almost have a grid system. That's how residential and square everything is around here. And when we look at the aerial, we see that these are standard single-family homes in the standard single-family neighborhood. In fact, when you zoom out a little bit, you see that there are a lot of streets like this around. There is some multi-unit dwelling units nearby as well, but this is all residential. This is the front of the house. This photo was taken on Monday. So we went over conditional use, and the staff findings to that end are that staff's opinion, this use is a conditional use in the district where the subject lot is located. Is staff's opinion that the use is in accordance with the objectives of Colerain Township's comprehensive plan and zoning resolution. It's staff's opinion that the conditional use will substantially and or permanently injure the appropriate use of the neighboring properties and will not serve the public convenience and welfare. And it's staff's opinion that the use will create excessive requirements at public costs for public facilities and services that could be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. For that reason, staff seeks guidance from the board. Mr. Roberto?
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Come give your presentation, ma'am. Good evening.
My name is Angelique Payne. I'm a social worker.
I'm sorry, can you state your address for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, and I did write the property address on there in error, but I am also a resident of Colerain Township.
Okay.
My address is 2413 Amelia Court.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm a social worker of 15 years. My husband and I were foster parents for 8 years in another property that we owned prior to the Amelia Court. And I just witnessed 2 individuals present to the board about their group home. And I would like to just share some information about group homes, the way they're ran,
who we normally serve and why the need has grown so much in our neighborhoods. When you think about group homes, take it out of your mind, institution. Think about family, think about a foster home. Anyone right now could live right next door to a foster home fostering 5 to 10 children right now, and you would never know. Our children need our help, and that is why the need has grown so much. That is why we are seeking to support these youth. I've been in social services for 15 years. I've been a social worker with Jobs and Family Services. I did case management for youth, at-risk youth for 7 years. And like I said prior, my husband and I fostered youth in our home for 8 years, and we served 25 youth over the state of Ohio. We've seen 3 of those youth to higher education. We reunified 10 of them to their homes, to their families. And that is what programs like myself and what I think the other 2 presenters were trying to present to this board. The average youth of stay of a foster youth in a group home is 6 months, if the program is ran right. I too have another location in our Colerain Township area. We are on Hazelton Court. We've been there for 3 years, and in that 3 years, we've reunified 15 youth. In the summertime, our of-age youth works at Kroger's, Honey Baked Ham, has volunteered at the YMCA. We take our youth every day in the summertime to YMCA. They not only volunteer there, we also have memberships there. Our vans and our company vehicles are serviced at CarX on Colerain. We often order and cater from Honey Baked Ham. So economically, not saying that, a group home is here to destroy the economic growth in our township, but it's also there to help and grow us as a community. We not only employ people from Colerain, we service businesses here in Colerain. When we're talking about, I heard some of the property owners talk about parking. Historically, we can drive up and down Colerain and get from one end of Colerain to the next in 5 minutes. We are growing. So parking and travel is going to look and has looked different from the past. So I think we should, not only think about that, we are growing. Teenagers are going out, they're getting their license. Families are growing, so parking and not only travel will look different. It's gonna continue to look different. But that doesn't change the need that we have for serving our at-risk youth. We talked about property values. Property values changes from new developments, business growth, commercial businesses thriving or declining. So I would like for us to change our minds and open our minds to why the need is here in front of us today and why we can seek to support our youth as opposed to turning our backs away from them. We talked about how long does the youth stay. As I said, 6 months. If the program is ran efficiently, the youth can stay from admission to 6 months up into 2 years. It is mandated from the state of Ohio that your program, a foster youth, only stays in a group home level of care for 2 years only. When we're talking about our education, will they strain our education in our districts? No, they don't. Our youth go to surrounding. Some of our youth in our group home go to their at-home school. That school where the youth is based from is responsible legally for that youth's education. For example, if a youth admitted from Claremont County is responsible for that youth's education, not Colerain Township, not Mount Healthy. That youth is ported from that group home to that county homeschool. Now, there is a choice where that youth can, and it is up to the agency, the county, to decide if what is appropriate and what's best for that youth in terms of the education. It could look like that youth is going to our neighborhood school, but it also could look like that youth would be ported to that county for their schooling and education. The group home age ranges from 12 to 21, but the goal is, as I said before, a 2-year time frame with the program where they are aged out and go into independent living. So, for instance, a youth can stay 6 months or 18 months, and then they would travel out and go to independent living. So that doesn't look like they're there 6 or 7 years. They're there temporary. Group homes are a temporary environment. They're there to be, they're temporary. The goal is always for them to return home to their counties, return home to their families. Since we've been in business, we have reunified 15 youths in 3 years. That is always our goal, and that is what we celebrate, them returning home. We do have a very effective discharge plan. I heard someone on the panel ask a question, what do we do with troubled youth? What do we do with the youth that is unredirectable, can redirect that behavior? We have an immediate discharge. If they are becoming a nuisance, and I heard another property owner raise a concern about his kid's bike being stolen, and if that youth is deemed that they're troubled, unredirectable, still in property, we have an immediate discharge plan where we will contact the county and say this youth is not appropriate for this community setting. We need him discharged immediately. Group homes, foster care has 3 levels of care. Residential is the top, level 3 is the top level of care. That's residential, that's what you see, institutionalized youth. Group homes is level 2, and foster cares are level 1. Level 2, that youth has to be deemed to be appropriate for that level, meaning they have to be appropriate to go outside, they have to be appropriate to go into stores, communities, schools, businesses. They have to be deemed appropriate. So whenever a group home is looking at those admissions, they have to be appropriate for that community setting. They have to be appropriate, mental, physical, and behavioral to be in a foster care level 1. And if they're not, they're deemed appropriate for a level 3, a higher level of care. So it's not often that you see a level 3 youth in a level 2 or a level 1. It's not often. When we talk about police presence, sometimes, I will not lie to this board, we will require police to intervene. I have gotten myself really close with Colerain Police Department and our fire chief and our fire departments. They come in often. They are required, state mandated, to survey the unit once a year. So we have to make sure that it is safe for not only our staff and the youth and the community. I have presented, I brought with me today, photos of our group home. That is on Hazleton. I didn't know I could submit a PowerPoint. But it is our goal for our homes to look exactly like our residential homes. We don't want to infringe on other property owners at all. We actually thrive better when it looks like a normal home. Because our youth come from so much trauma, abuse, and neglect, it is important that they have some sense of normalcy so they can thrive. So they can redirect some of the behaviors and start their healing process from being traumatized. So our home is very important. We also utilize a local lawn and garden, to make sure that our lawns are kept, well kept, cut, the leaves that fall off the trees, we like it to look exactly like the community. We don't want to stand out like a sore thumb, because we want to give our youth a sense of normalcy, that they are within a regular community, in a thriving community, and this is how we thrive if we're thriving together. I also brought my brochure, if anyone would like a copy of it. We carry over $3 million of insurance.
We have that. We have this in our packet, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
$3 million of insurance to cover property damage, to cover our staff, to cover our youth. We also are accredited with the Joint Commission. Joint Commission is our accreditation board. Joint Commission is also the accreditation board for UC Hospital and Mercy Hospital, and that is something we pride ourselves on. Our program focuses on life skills, financial literacy. Like I said, our youth in the summertime, they work at Kroger's and they volunteer at the local YMCA. We have aftercare programs. Our aftercare program is when a youth discharges and reunifies with their families. We stay connected with that family for the minimum of 6 months to ensure that that youth does not re-enter foster care. We have a licensed nurse. I am a licensed social worker. We create treatment plans that ensures that whatever level of care that that youth needs, they get. Whether it is counseling, therapy, group counseling, whatever that youth requires, we create a plan to ensure that while they're there with that stay in our group home, that they're receiving the services and supports. We offer programs in resume building, independent living skills. Our youth are taught how to sort clothes, interview, what to wear to an interview, how to dress, what to say. Youth empowerment. We have a group roundtable that is every Sunday. Our youth get together and they mentor each other to ensure that each one of our youth in our group home is in a healing journey. That's pretty much all I would like to say. I just wanted to offer this opportunity to give some information and clarity on group homes. A lot of times we hear group home, we think institution, and it's not an institution. It's not designed to be institutionalized. It's designed to create spaces that look like normal historical communities, so our youth can get some sense of normalcy. Our youth come from abuse and neglect, and that is why I think we are seeing a flex of group home applications in communities like Colerain Township. And again, we don't necessarily always utilize our local schools for our youth. They are ported from all over Ohio, but not all of the youth go to our local schools. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else speaking in favor of this appeal? See none? I'll start at the top of my list. I have Chad Ballard.
Chad Ballard, 9960 Capstan Drive. One of our concerns is, we are members of the Northbrook community. We've worked many years to try to better the community. So we didn't know how we felt about this. Talking with some of the police department this afternoon, it seems like the other house on Hazelton Court has had calls for service 63 times since February 28th of this year. And that's coming from our police chief. I would say that's a strain on services. I get it that these kids need somewhere to go, but 63 calls, that's a lot. It's costing taxpayers. We're already short cops. and we're probably gonna lose more. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Hampton? And Kim Hampton?
My name is Daniel Hampton. I live at 3116 Glen Air Drive.
I'm Kim Hampton.
My concerns are basically what everybody else has said, okay? Now, I want to know how they get paid. Do they get paid by the child, the amount of children that are in there? Because what I've come to believe, what I've looked up, is that they can have 6 to 15 children in that home. Now, 15 children in a home, 3 bedrooms, is not acceptable. What's going to happen when 15 kids are there?
She said
in
the
house?
kids come from abuse, neglect, and they're from troubled pasts. You're gonna put that right next to my house that we just bought a couple years ago? Like, I didn't buy that house with that there already. We just moved in less than 5 years ago. All of our neighbors are elderly. Lady across the street just lost her husband. She's been there since '74. She couldn't make it up here tonight because she's not feeling well. But she gave me a signature that she was opposed to it, and so did my other next door neighbor. We're right in the middle of a street, right in the middle of a street, in the middle of a neighborhood. And probably 75% of my neighbors are 60 and over. You're gonna put troubled, neglected teens next door to us. My backyard's my paradise. I spent $40,000 when we moved in, putting in a she shed, an adult swing set, and a fire pit. That's where I spend all my time, is in my backyard. I didn't buy that backyard to be looking at a group home.
I mean, is there a fence requirement or something?
2 year,
Security? I need to know more.
Yep.
just in
Yeah.
Akron,
You'll
2
get your
days
chance.
ago, a group home, one of the kids killed the adult living in that group home 2 days ago in Akron.
And in Charlotte,
We've done some
it happened this year,
research.
April 23rd.
That's 2 killings.
The people that are
and
in
there's-
it
that's
got
this
killed by
year.
the
Hey,
people there.
one person at a time, because this is being recorded, so we've got to make sure it's clear for the record.
This year. It's been killed by one of the kids.
I'm not saying it's gonna happen here, but it happens.
I understand they
And
need.
I don't wanna have it next door to
They need
me.
an out to put these kids, and they need somewhere to go, but right in the middle of a residential street is not the place for it.
She talks about cutting the grass and breaking the leaves. There's no trees on that property. She ain't even seen the property, I don't think.
There's not been nobody living in that house in a year. She bought it, and then she
If
hasn't
somebody
been
else
there.
owns the home.
Remember, one at a time, please.
The lady that bought the house less than 2 years ago has not been in the house in almost a year. The house has been sitting empty. She has people come cut the grass for her. She shows up and gets stuff out, and nobody's been there. So you're gonna move 6 kids into this house. You're gonna put 6 kids, and they're gonna reside in this house, but not one adult resides there. They're staff.
They can have up to 15 is what I believe. Am I not right?
You're not correct.
State of Ohio?
They can have up to 6.
That's all they can have.
Yes.
6 is too many for me, just be honest.
Thank you. Anything else?
It seems like it's a niche and these people are trying to fill it. I don't know. That's my concern.
Thank you, sir. Tia Lawson?
Tia Lawson, 3081 Glen Air Drive. I'm speaking to you today on a couple of different things. One, I am a resident across the street from this home. I've not seen anyone at this home in probably 2 years, maybe 3. I have 2 small children that live in my home that I personally don't want around troubled youth. We have enough problems with our own kids, and then you're gonna put troubled youth in our neighborhood as well. That street is a very, very busy street. We can't even get speed bumps put on that road. And we're gonna put a group home in it where we have the potential for more children to get hit by a car when people are speeding between Burgess and Lorelinda. No, Burgess and Lorelinda, they fly. They use that as a drag strip down through our neighborhood. I am terrified every time my children walk out the front door that they're gonna get hit by a car playing on the sidewalk because people are gonna lose control speeding down our street. I also work for Dollar General. I used to work at the one at Pippin and Adams, right there, maybe 0.6 of a mile from where that house is. I have had a 14-year-old boy arrested for stealing out of my store, who came from a group home, from a troubled past with behavior issues. I love my community. I don't want to have to call the cops on another 14, 15-year-old boy because he broke into my car, because he broke into my house, because he beat up one of my kids. I don't want to have to do that. I vote against this house being made a group home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Is it Sylvia Byer?
Hi, I'm Sylvia Byer. I live at 2960 Glen Air. I bought the home brand new. I've been there for over 50 years. I have 14 grandchildren and 9 greats that I take care of. The little ones anyhow. The big ones, of course, are grown. I don't want them around that. And from my understanding, the only thing that the staff has to do to be hired is a high school education, background check, what else was it? Be 21. And then they'll train them the rest of the way. I'm sorry, you want to hand them troubled youth to deal with? And when they probably don't even take care of kids or anything? We have enough trouble with the youth that live around us. We don't need extra. And just like the past people that's been speaking, it's a residential neighborhood. It should stay that way. That's the way we bought it, and that's the way we want to live. So I vote no.
Thank you, ma'am. Robert, I can't understand the last name, but it's Robert something Jote? He lives at 3205 Sienna? Okay. Okay, very good. So there's no one else that signed up on my sheet. So did you sign up to speak? Okay, ma'am, you want to go and give me your name and address? Come on up to the podium and.
Hello, my name is Tracy Bossy. I live at 3053 Glen Air Drive. We bought this house in 1991, and we had our first child there in 1992. Our neighbors are old, elderly. They're kind. We look out for each other. If there's a problem, they let us know. They help us out. It's a nice community. I really do not want my elderly neighbors have to deal with troubled youth, because our children are polite to them. They help out. They rake their leaves. They've been there for when it first built in 70s. And I don't think they can take that. I appreciate the fact that youth needs help. My children needed help. I'm their parent. I took care of them. I take care and watch over all the other neighborhood kids too. We're a community, and if there's a problem, we'll talk to each other about this. We cannot have a group home in our neighborhood to disrupt our peaceful sanctuary, so to speak. We're kind. We try to slow the motorists down when they're speeding from Compton past Burgess to Lower Linda. We try to work together as a community. So I appreciate that I and my husband and our neighbors oppose this. Thank you.
Can you state your address again for me?
3053.
Thank you,
Glen
ma'am.
Air.
Thank you.
And it's like 4 fourth house across the street. Thank you for your time.
Did I miss anyone else? I see no one else. Can we close the public portion?
Did-
Come back up, sir. And your name is Dan Hampton?
Now, when she said that when the children become problems, they become discharged, what does that exactly mean? Just close the door, put them out front? How do they discharge these children?
We'll ask some questions to the applicant, and we're going to cover some of those questions. Thank you. All right. I see no other persons that want to. The applicant, you're going to be given questions, and you'll be able to respond. So you're okay. Yes, ma'am. So anybody else see any hands up? Can we close the public portion? Make a motion, please.
Motion, we close the public portion of this.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sido,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Mr. Shupp, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, to get an answer to the gentleman's question, what exactly is the definition of a discharge and how is that?
So applicant, come to the podium and you speak. Yes, ma'am.
So a discharge is the opposite of an admission. It requires some information and documentation to admit a youth. It does require some work to get to discharge. It's just like when you go to the hospital and you have a surgery and you have the doctor come in, they come in and explain, you've had a surgery, I give you this medication and you're free to go home. It sort of looks like that. In the case where a youth is unable to be redirected and he's an excessive behaviored youth, we have in our policy and procedure to immediately discharge that youth, immediately. Meaning we have to call the police, we call that the county guardian, and they have to immediately come and retrieve the youth and their belongings, and they're gone.
A woman, I can't remember her name, she brought up the point of the qualifications of the people that work there. Is it as simple as what? the way
It
she
is not.
described it?
It is a misinformation. It is state, our group home is state licensed, state police, state ran. Our requirements is not only a high school diploma, background check, FBI and BCI, and a minimum age of 21. They also have to have CPR, trauma-informed care, 1 year minimum of trauma-informed care, meaning they know the youth that we are serving and they know how to support the youth that we're serving, along with flu shot, TB. It's a list. I wish I would have had my list in front of me, but that is not the minimum no, they have to have some education in the youth that we serve, some qualifications and certifications.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Sido. Mr. Sido.
Am I returning?
You might just stay there because I'm sure there'll be more questions for you. Thank you.
You mentioned group home, and in the same sentence or in same discussion point, you mentioned foster homes. Foster homes, in my opinion, are not group homes. Foster homes, the child has basically a family and two adults that are there 24 hours a day, not a group home that has 3 different adults taking care of them. That was my only. I only wanted to make that statement, so I'm sorry.
No, thank you for your concern, and I'm here to help not only the board, but our community see the difference in the similarities. So a foster home, yes, the level 1 of care, that youth is in a home setting, but still in the community. And in a group home, we still are mandated by the state of Ohio to keep that youth connected with their family. So when we are having trouble getting our minds wrapped around, they're going to be causing trouble in our neighborhood, affecting our elders. No, we have state mandates to create an activity schedule for these youth. So we have to submit to the state what we plan to do with this youth every single day. If they don't have a job site, an after-school program, we are mandated by the state. They hold our license if we don't. We are surveyed twice a year, and once a year from our accreditation board, joint commission, and twice a year from the state of Ohio licensure. We have to submit a whole year's of activities, schedules, appointment, school schedules. Our youth in my group home, I can't speak for the other two group homes. We have 2 company vehicles, and that is to provide transportation to and from all of their appointments and activities. Our youth are not there. They're not. They're there to sleep. We outsource our counseling services and therapeutic services. This is around the clock. And as a state-ran mandated licensed group home, we have to ensure that not only our staff is qualified, this is a no-sleep area. Our group home is ran on a 12-hour shift cycle. So from 8 to 8, 8 to 8. Our staff knows, they're trained and hired. They cannot sleep in this environment. So they have eyes on, and they're rarely there. I wish I could have brought an activity schedule to show you. From the time that our youth get home to school, and if some of our youth are going to Montgomery County and Claremont County and Toledo County, they're rarely there. I don't know what our neighbors are pulling up from our miseducation and information that we're seeing, but that is not a typical group home.
Any other questions?
Further questions? Comments?
Ms. Owens?
The reasonings for not wanting the group home was the increase in the number of times that it taxes our public services. And so the issue of the Hazelton location, how long has that location been open?
3 years.
And as far as the issue with the 63 times police calls since February, is there a way you can address that?
I would like to. And I'm not sure if that number is accurate. I actually tried to get that information myself, but we have to, when we think about police presence, it's not only because of an extreme behavior. It's not only because of aggression. It can be a physical issue that we need the police to intervene for. This youth is sick. This youth is could potentially harm themselves or another resident in the group home. It is not always because of some type of physical aggression or extreme behavior. It is a multiple reasons why we would need the police to intervene. We also have a community engagement plan where we engage with our local police. We have sent them lunch on many occasions to our fire chief and our fire department. We try to engage with the community. We did have one time a youth that was there, and before the agency can come down and remove the youth, he was in the street and he wasn't able to be redirected. I decided to send our neighbors a $50 Kroger gift card to explain what was the reason. This youth was a youth that had mental health issues. And we have policies and procedures that when our youth is struggling with their mental health disorders, we kind of have a procedure where we're hands off. We don't get involved. We allow the police to come in and intervene and get involved. That youth was taken away. He was immediately discharged. But I felt the need to explain to my neighbors why we had the police present and offer a token of forgiveness for having police presence in our neighborhood. Our youth that we admit in our group home, are the youth that will go out and knock on the elderly neighbor's door and rake her leaves and mow her grass and shovel her snow. I'm hoping if I don't get approved, that is okay. What I'm hoping is to leave our communities with more information about our group homes and more information about our youth that deserves second chances and opportunities before they become our adult institutionalized citizens. This is our one mark to get it right. And that is what my group home is attempting to do, is to try to redirect these youth and get it right.
Okay, Ms. Owens, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Bartle?
Well, the same question. Why did you pick this location?
I picked this location because the owner, the owner shared with me she had not been in the unit for over a year, and she was looking to recover from the mortgage and find some way. It's either going to be a rental property, and she offered it to me to provide a second location. We are around the corner in Hazleton. It makes sense, and I live in Colerain Township myself. My husband and I just purchased a new home in the new development, Crossley Meadows. So not only do I am a resident of Colerain Township, I also have a business in Colerain Township. And like I said before in my first conversation, we utilize businesses in Colerain Township. So economically, we are, providing a NCLEX or support in terms of economics to revise, profits for us all. So we're not here to in any way insult and bring down property values, but increase us economically as a community.
So, you're probably not opposed then to trying to find a location in the appropriately zoned area, correct?
If denied the appeal, absolutely.
Because again, you wouldn't have to come to this board if you found a location that's considered multi-unit residential, correct?
Not just that, it has to be in the MUR zoning district, so it can't be a multi-unit building in an SUR zoning district. It also has to be at least 600 feet away from any other group home, and it can only have up to 6 children.
And each township zonings are similar and can be different.
Do we know how many group homes are in Colerain Township?
What are we at, like 10? Okay. We're somewhere in the high single digit, low double digit.
Yeah, I was just curious if compared
This
to
will be
other...
our second one in Colerain Township.
Compared to other townships, is this something we're seeing a lot of and others are seeing nothing?
Mr. Miller?
So we have had inquiries from neighboring townships that are asking how we are dealing with it because they have had an influx of inquiries. Earlier this year, I guess back to November of 2023, we had a significant uptick in interest in applications. And so as we began to research and work through that, we worked interdepartmentally across all of our staff and found that there were some significant issues. We came up with some new zoning resolution that addressed some of the issues. And then one of those was the zoning in the MUR. And that has been primarily the opportunity that we took. We also placed some other opportunities for the staff to be able to withdraw a zoning certificate if the property became a public nuisance under police discretion there. And so that's how we have managed to deal with it. I think we have mapped out. Do you have that number yet? Okay, we're aware of about 15 in Colerain Township that are youth group homes.
It sounds right. We're aware of too, because sometimes we just don't know about them. They operate illegally, sometimes.
Yeah, and I think the point is, it's a service that's desperately, needed, but we don't want to say you must go out in an industrial area or at the base of Mount Rumpke, You need to be in a residential area, but it sounds like The township's kind of addressed it by putting, saying that it's allowed in the MUR. So that, since we had these 3 applicants today, that's why I'm still curious why we had such an uptick in 3 cases, all kind of in the Northbrook area. And if it's just coincidence, I guess that's what it is, but I
guess for me, it was a little bit of ignorance, since we have the location already in Colerain Township. When we looked at this location, it wasn't considered, for lack of knowledge, just not knowing that this location would need a specific zoning, and it was in a specific area that required a specific zoning. I assumed our current zoning would carry over to the next.
To her point, I think that part of the reason for the uptick is because we just adopted our new zoning resolution. So I think there are some people that wanted to try this as a conditional use rather than a variance, AKA the last case. So I think it's an illusion that there's an uptick. I think it's something that we're seeing a steady flow of, though.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That's all.
If I might,
I'm the last person, so.
Mr. Bartle, just to further answer your question, one of the reasons that we felt compelled to address, not just because of the uptick in applications, it was there was a change in policy that the state was having trouble with the larger institutionalized facilities that were dealing with troubled youth. So they looked for another means by which they could care for these young people. And the system right now is putting them in these group homes. And to the degree that they have a greater level of individualized care in a smaller group, there is, I think, some value that you can place on that. But what we saw at the local level was a significant increase in calls for service. There were some operators that just didn't operate a tight ship, and literally hundreds of calls for fire and police. As mentioned by Mr. Ballard, I had similar information. I actually had 68 calls for service since early in the year to the Glen Eyre, Hazleton address. And so those are the things that brought it to our attention, and with that added pressure on our departments, we felt the need to address that.
Well, thank you for that number, because I was unaware of that
Okay.
number. But like I would like to say, it's not all because of extreme issues. It could very well, those 68 calls could very well have been, and I am contesting, it could have been issues for medical issues and not only extreme.
Well, look at from my perspective. I'm your neighbor, and I see the police presence at Hazleton on a regular basis. What it does is it just creates a perception, whether it's good or bad. The police are on scene, so therefore something bad's going on, and so that's because that's the first thing that comes to your mind. So that would be my concern, is just you've already got a prior history, and we did talk about a resolution or ordinance about making changes and withdrawing. I mean, what is that limit to where the police are called that we enact that resolution? That's not defined, and so I mean to open that can of worms to say we're just going to allow this to happen and apply a resolution to it. It's just creates work on the township again, because now they're having to keep track of how many calls we've got to your facility, and what are the kind of calls they are, and whether they're life threatening, and so forth and so on, in order to revoke that particular.
I understand.
Mr. Roberto, if I might just point out, in the section 6.5.3 conditional use review criteria that Mr. Peters mentioned on all 3 of these, item D says that the use will not create excessive requirements at public cost for public facilities and services, and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. And so,
and what number is that?
Well,
2 calls, 3 calls? I've had,
that may not be classified as excessive, but I think 68 is problematic, and that's the feedback that we received from our police department.
When we're talking about, utilizing police and straining the police, when you have a business that pays property taxes, wages, we're utilizing businesses, isn't that a revolving? Are we not putting into the system? When we have employees that also live in Colerain, that pays property taxes, isn't that not paying for some of the services?
Very well could.
That would be my first issue. I mean, the community at large feels like it's a threat to their local community. How would you address that as far as not being a threat to the community when you've got, on an average 23 calls a year of police to your facility? How do you address that not being a threat?
I would argue that a residential home could have those same numbers.
Well, it surely could.
And not have the same balance of economic return on the strain on our police force. When I speak of hiring staff that is also residents of Colerain Township and a business that is paying into employment tax, unemployment tax, wage tax, isn't that what we're utilizing in service? We're revolving that economic we're balancing that economic balance. When we're using the argument that you're calling the police 23 times, I can point over to the neighbor and say, well, they've had the police 23 times too, and it's only a man and a woman in there, and they're not even, sending anything economically back into the balance of our system. So I think that argument is kind of irrelevant, without due respect.
But your argument is that is not a factual. The factual for your property is 63 or 68, whatever the number may be, is a significant number over a 3-year period.
And the fact is also I have.
February of this year.
Since February of this year?
Since February of this year?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, can we have everyone in the audience be quiet and allow the applicant to speak?
So clarity, 68
Do we have that
calls
pulled up?
since
Do we have those
February
facts?
Of 24.
I got the information from Lieutenant Jamie Penley. So we can pull those.
28 from February?
68
from this year, February.
since February of 2024.
And ma'am, where are you then if you're not even aware that this is going on?
No, I would like to speak to him because I am very involved in our group home. I am here to debate that 68 calls since February. I'm here to debate that. I would like to see that facts and those calls in that log because we're not that type of group home. We are not.
All right, I have no further questions. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant while she's up here? Ma'am, you can go ahead and sit down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, do we have a motion to approve or deny this appeal?
I'll make a motion to deny the appeal.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second motion.
Second's been made. In discussion? Do you have a reasoning for the denial?
Yes, I would.
Lawyer would like to have clarity.
Yes, I would like to give some. I would like to. I agree with Mr. Bartlow, and I'll also add something in to the fact that we have an opportunity to vet the applicant, and I think she has a very incredible resume, but that opportunity will not be given to us again if someone else takes over the property. So that's primarily my reason. The other reason is that this is in fact a single-family residential neighborhood, and these people have purchased it as such, and I think we could be potentially affecting the character of a neighborhood by allowing businesses in it.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sido,
Yes.
and Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Your appeal has been denied, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay, the next one I have on my docket would be case number BZA 24-27. Does the staff have a presentation? Are you ready?
I do.
Go ahead and give them a few minutes to get out.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Before I start, can I just respectfully ask that we have quiet in the audience when people are presenting? It really helps us when we digitize the minutes as well. So I'd really appreciate that. I think we've all been here a long time, so. Okay, so this is case BZA 2427 at 9899 Capstan Drive. The case is a variance. The parcel number is listed on the screen and in the packet. The zoning district is also SUR, single unit residential. The applicant and property owner are Piper Grimm. Overview, the request is to construct a shed within 5 feet of the property line. Some background on the case, there were previous structures. There were 2 sheds removed earlier this year due to safety concerns. The proposed shed will replace the removed structures, so 1 replacing 2. The proposed shed details, the shed will be constructed on site with higher quality materials. They will not encroach further in the setback than the previous sheds encroached. And that would be the front of the shed being 3 feet from the nearest property line and the rear of the shed being 2.5 feet from the nearest property line. The justification the applicant gave for the variance is their site constraints. The driveway extension they recently had limits the available placement options. Adhering to the 5-foot setback compromises property functionality, the applicant argues. Their commitments are the shed will be aesthetically compatible with the neighborhood, no negative impact on adjacent properties, and no risk or inconvenience to neighbors. Considerations that the board should make are evaluation of the setback reduction impacts it might have on the neighboring properties and the balance between site functionality and neighborhood compatibility. And we are looking up at the maps on the screen. So this is a map. This big box at the bottom is Kroger. And I'm sorry, Hobby Lobby.
We've done a lot of Kroger, that's why.
Like I said, we've all been here a long time. So I want to point to this little triangular piece that abuts or pushes into the property. That could potentially be considered a hardship, but we're looking particularly at this property line because that's the one it was closest to. So if you look at the funny shape of this property, I want us to kind of disregard that rear abnormality that we have back there, and because we're talking about this property line they share with that neighbor. This is the larger area. I think we all know it pretty well. This is the house, picture taken on Monday. Okay, so this is the driveway. The applicant submitted this photo, and if I understand correctly from the applicant, this is where this grassy area is where the shed will go, which would be closer than 5 feet to that property line. There's an area over here that's not occupied. And this is just kind of looking the other way. So this is looking up the driveway. You can see kind of the end of the driveway there. This is a site map the applicant made. So we have the driveway with the extension. We have the shed. So like I said, 16 feet from that kind of abnormal property line. But we're looking at 2.5 feet right here and 3 feet right here to that neighboring property. The issue we have is, according to section 4.2.3A10, accessory buildings and uses shall be located a minimum of 5 feet from all property lines. Staff findings are all listed in the packet using the Duncan factors, but I'll read the 3 most important. It's staff's opinion the request is substantial in nature. It's staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would substantially be altered as a result of granting the variance. It's staff's opinion the spirit and intent behind the zoning resolution would not be observed and substantial justice would not be done by granting the requested variance. And might I add, the person had a legally non-conforming structure for being that close to the property line that was built before zoning. When you tear that down, you instantly lose your legally non-conforming status. The upgrade, so to speak, to legally non-conforming status is a variance because the legally non-conforming status says that shed can be there as long as that shed stands. A variance says you can have a shed there forever. So we're asking for an upgrade for a lost legally non-conforming status. So all those factors considered, staff recommendation is denial. Mr. Roberto.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Piper Graham, 9899 Capstan.
Thank you.
So I tried to draw it up best I could. Basically, the reason we chose here, so to kind of cover the issue of whether we've looked at other spots, because we actually started with it going this direction, but it didn't allow for us to turn and actually back up to it. So part of the purpose of this is he's disabled. He's gonna need a scooter at some point, and our house is 1,000 square feet. It's small. There is no place to put it, and he's only gonna need it for when we go out to do, like, say, the Ren Fair. We go to that every year. He can't walk that anymore. So part of it is, that way we can put that back here. I can, with the light pole here, I can hook up the light relatively easy. We put it in the driveway so he's not trying to walk over the ground back there when it gets bad out. Some of this is to just help him get back and forth. So he's not trying to have to tromp through the yard. And then I put some extra stuff because we've got a plan of what we want to do for the back of the yard. So we tried to set up, that was gonna be the best one first, because those were falling down. The one had a hole through it, the other one, the floor was rotting out. They just weren't safe anymore. And the shed that I'm putting up is the same square footage. It's just one instead of two. Instead of having like the drop-in that you buy from Lowe's, I'm having this one built on site. It's sturdier material, it's made better. The company actually offers to come back and paint it. It's a fee, but it ain't much. But they'll come back and paint it and color match it every 5 years. So that way I can keep it nice while it's there. That's mainly the reason I wanted the variance, is because we've tried other places to put it. We get past this tree, and if you bring that picture back up,
Sure.
you can see Hobby Lobby's parking lot.
Which one?
Keep going. That back one. That one. Hobby Lobby's parking lot drops off right behind that. Their fence sticks probably 2 feet above mine, and I've got a 6-foot fence and they have a chain link. So all that water is coming down and it floods out the backyard. It's a soupy mess back there most of the time. So trying to put a shed on that side of the yard, it's gonna sink in without having tons of dirt brought in and put in drainage. That's my reasoning. I
Okay.
didn't know if you guys wanted to keep this.
No, we'd have to put it in the record.
Yeah. We actually have a drawing that you submitted, I believe, that it's just part of our packet. Let me make sure that's.
And then I also got permission from the neighbor that I consulted him, are you gonna have a problem with this if I'm this close to it? And I submitted that when I submitted all my paperwork.
I didn't put that in your packet because it was hearsay.
Okay. Because I had him sign it.
Yeah, it's still hearsay unless he comes.
And I just had a question of clarity. So in this picture here, you kind of have an outline of what the shed's going to be, is that?
That is the exact size of it and where it
Okay.
would sit.
So just for everybody's record, that's what the shed outline is for that pad. All right, any other presentation-wise, you got anything else you wanted to say?
Yes, my name's Draven Grimm, 9899 Capstan Drive. I can't walk across that yard because the people that had it before we bought it 10 years ago, didn't care for it. It's like trying to walk across somewhere where a dog had dug a bunch of holes and then they filled them in, so it's ankle-breaking kind of place you just step on. I have 6 discs injured in my spine, and I needed the concrete to be able to walk on the concrete. I'm in the process of buying a scooter so that I can get around instead of hobble. And I need to shed the door because it won't fit through the front door. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone speaking in opposition? I have one other person that signed up. Is it Ashley Lyon? I think it's, were you signing up for Alt House? Okay. If no one else is speaking, do we have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
Mr. Shupp got the second. And discussion? I see or hear none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sato,
Yes.
and Mr. Roberto.
Yes. All right. Mr. Bartle, you want to start us off?
Sure. Can you come back up? Thanks. So the shed is for the scooter, correct? And other things.
Yeah, and other things.
So the plan is to back up, it's going to be what, on the back of the vehicle? The scooter
Yeah, so.
of your car?
Right, so we'll have one of the things that goes in the hitch. That way we can drive it out of the shed, up onto that, and secure it in place and go.
Yeah. So once it's off the car, you can just drive it into the shed? Okay. So would there be is there a bad reason why the shed couldn't just move to the west of the new driveway? And so you drive it and just turn it into the shed? Do you know what I mean? I can go up there.
Turning it completely?
The shed.
Just moving the shed 2.5 feet or 3 feet to further into your yard. Still kind of beyond the concrete, but off the concrete.
The
Well-
problem is it won't be on the concrete. It fits the concrete. If I move it at all, it's gonna fall off.
Well, you'd have to have a new
You'd
pad.
have that poor pad to
But the logistics of getting it off the car and driving it into the shed, you could do a 90-degree turn into the shed, correct?
We could, but the goal is just to make it as easy as possible, as simple as possible, so we're not having to try
Yeah.
and do anything weird with it.
Well,
Because we had thought about turning it, but then it was turning the car. If we moved the shed over, I
well,
just had that
yeah,
rule
that's
on
why I'm
wheels.
saying you don't turn the car, you take the scooter off of the car and drive the scooter into the shed.
The only issue I see with that is there is 22 feet. Between a tree and where that shed's gonna sit, I have 22 feet. So if I move that, that makes my yard 10 feet right there. That's all I have, and it's almost in the middle of my yard.
And we're talking 2 feet. Making it so that you're within your 5-foot clearance off the side of the
I'm
yard.
talking about widening the driveway at that spot.
2.5 feet so that your shed now kind of
What
shifts.
I understand is I'd have to tear out what it is there, so that, because if it's just another piece, this concrete will settle because of no drainage in the back of any of these properties.
There was
So
concerns
that-
about
that
cracking the
One piece will
concrete.
settle unevenly compared to the other, and then the shed will be crooked and the door won't open right and that kind of thing.
That was part of why we stopped it where we did, is it's still that drainage problem. There's so much water under there. And that was something the contractor mentioned when we went to put it in, is that the back of it, if we try to put concrete there, he's gonna have to reinforce it or make it thicker. Because we get so much water off of there.
And you're saying that water's not going to affect your new driveway?
No, because we've got it far enough. There's a bowl to my driveway. I took pictures today to kind of give an idea of how that works. Because back there, you've got, so where the end of the driveway is, it bowls out towards Hobby Lobby, and then it goes uphill from the tree on. It's a straight uphill.
Towards the house?
Yeah.
Is
It's not a
this,
steep angle, but it is definitely uphill the whole way.
well, I didn't know if that was reflected in your photographs. It looked flat, but I wasn't sure.
It looked flat to me too, I
It's
thought.
not a flat yard.
Get there.
Not visited the property personally.
Yeah.
Can you go back one? I mean, yeah, there. So what we're asking is,
Yeah, that's all an angle.
if you moved the shed, say 3 feet to the left,
This way.
that way, you would just have to pour a new little piece, and it could be doweled into the existing so that they don't settle differently from each other.
Put a footer in.
Well, you can do it, yeah. Any kind of turned footer, a drop footer. But,
That's more expense on a one-income household, sir.
Yeah.
correct.
We are one
I don't
income.
even get disability.
We're just trying to figure out, do you really have a hardship?
Yes, because I need to be able
It's
to back
just-
straight. I can't really turn
I
my
don't
head
wanna-
anymore.
Well, but see, the scooter can be taken off the car, and then you're not the one that has to drive it into the shed. You know, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's your wife. Your wife could get it into the shed for you.
I just didn't want to lose too much in my yard. That was because I've got an idea for a greenhouse and putting in a seasonal garden, and I'm just gonna lose so much of my yard doing that. That was my only problem
That's why
with
we
doing
did what
that.
we did.
That's the reason we went the route we did.
We
Okay.
were aware of the ordinance of 5 feet.
Yeah, with the 2 sheds already being there, I was completely unaware when we tore them down. I just saw them as safety hazards.
Right.
I work in construction, so it kind of sticks out to me.
Well, that's my only point, whether or not there's latitude to maneuver the shed to not have to have a variance. Okay.
Staff, did you have a question or statement?
Yeah, I mean, the 5-foot thing's pretty universal. And when Mr. Bartol said hardship, I just want to explain that's not a personal hardship. We understand and feel for you. That is a hardship that's placed upon the property, such as unusual lot lines or really steep terrain.
Lot lines are unusual.
Right.
It's pie-shaped.
Yeah, we've got a pie shape. Right?
So that's kind of what we're looking at as a hardship, but along that property line, I think the board was asking you where the hardship was along that property line.
Well, the fact that it
It's
runs
just
like a, I don't
having
know
a
what the
nice
angle
clean
is.
driveway
You
versus
pull back up
versus
the-
having a offset.
Yeah, I mean, it seems straight on this side too, on the left-hand side, it seems like that's a straight line, but it's not. They both encroach like this. They both come in at an angle. The property's probably 10 or 12 feet wider up by the house than it is down at the lower end of the property.
You have any other questions for the
No,
applicant?
I'm good.
Ms. Owens?
No question.
Mr. Saito?
I was like Mr., our colleague over there. I was thinking that we could go to the left a little bit and everything, but that was the only instance I could see to your problem, but no further questions. No.
Mr. Shep?
No, I have none.
What we have here is a hardship that you created for yourself. You had something that was there, you removed it. Once you removed it, you lost that ability so we had to follow zoning at that point. So now what the board is charged with is trying to follow the zoning laws or zoning rules. And yeah, you have an unusual shape in the back, but that's really not the thing that's in question. What's in question is immediately to the right of your driveway, if I'm looking at it from this is you got 2.5 feet. The driveway itself is not a problem, but when you put the accessory of the building on there, that's when it becomes an issue. So if our suggestion to get around this is if you can take the shed and move it 2.5 feet to the left, pour a pad there, you still got majority of your shed still on your driveway that you want to do. You can still probably go in 90% of that into that space and utilize the shed without actually having to be before the board. What I'm sensing is that, it's not going to get
Cost us thousands of dollars, sir.
I understand that, but the time to do it was when you did the driveway, was the time to do that, just to make sure that you were within compliance. The onus is on you. You own the property, so you got to make sure that when you're doing any type of accessory, that it follows with the laws of the land. In this particular case, you have to be 5 feet off the fence line or off the property line. And so, again, that's not something we created for you. That was something that was already there. It's on you to go ahead and check that out before you go ahead and spend the money for the driveway that you had. It's not going to cost you any more for the building because the building is being built custom as it is. So that can be placed anywhere. That's irrelevant. You're talking a few $100s for concrete. It's not thousands. It costs you thousands for your driveway you have in there now, but to pour a footer or another pad there is not going to cost you thousands. If you do, you need to get a different concrete guy because it's definitely not that much money. That's kind of where I'm sensing the board's going with this. I have no other questions.
Yeah, I mean, it should just be a 4 to 5 inch thick pad, an extra 2 feet to the left. Not for the whole width of a whole new shed, but just enough to move it.
Okay, so aesthetically wise, because I know that it does, even in what you guys review on the Duncan rules, it addresses aesthetics to the neighborhood. While you're not gonna be able to see the whole thing, you're gonna be able to see this weird offset
shed in my backyard.
That's irrelevant. I mean, people
So,
have sheds
just
all over their
aesthetic-wise.
yards. That's irrelevant really as far as aesthetics. Aesthetics would be more in the line if it's peeling paint, if it's not being maintained, that would be a deductible. If it's gonna be a tree house that's gonna stick up above your fence line, that's an aesthetic thing that would be not pleasing to the neighborhood. Your shed being in the middle of the yard versus along the fence line there's no different. The way I look at it is now you got a sidewalk that you can go walk alongside their shed, that you can now access the side of there and do whatever you want and hang tools on the side of there now. That's not gonna be encroaching into that neighborhood. That's me, if I'm gonna make lemonade out of the lemons that you got, that's your best option to be able to do your shed the size that you want and still keep it within the code. So, no decisions have been made yet, but I'm just trying to give you some direction and feedback, and we'll see what the board says. So, do we have any? And you can go and sit down. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any motions from the board?
I guess I'll make a motion to deny the applicant's request.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
No.
Mr. Sato,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Your appeal has been denied. That brings us to BZA 24-9. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do. Appreciate the patience to everybody left. So our next case is BZ8-24-9. This will be a future cut up of 8425 Alt House Road. It's in the process right now. There actually may be a parcel number by now, but I'll let the applicant speak to that. The parcel number of the lot it's being cut up for is on the screen and listed in the packet. The zoning district is the RER, Rural Estate Residential. The applicants are Gabriel and Ashley Lyon, and the property owner of the pre-cut up property is Vicky Schubert. Schubert. The property overview, the size is about 4 acres. The purpose is to establish what's called proposed to be called the Ivory Bee, a lavender farm. The farm description has a focus on all natural and sustainable farming practices according to the applicant, which includes water conservation, soil maintenance techniques, minimize environmental impact. The activities offered would be lavender picking primarily, but also community-based classes and workshops such as essential oil distillation. The goals are to provide a tranquil educational environment for families and individuals and operate harmoniously with the neighborhood. And this is all according to the applicant and her proposal. The community and economic benefits are potentially to attract visitors and boost local tourism, to support neighboring businesses and enhance community vitality. And the applicant argues that they're in a unique positioning with no similar lavender farms or U-pick experiences nearby, and that aligns with the agricultural use and township beautification efforts that we have for that area. The operational measures, they would limit it to seasonal operations limited to spring and summer. The applicant's been instructed if they ever wanted to change that or do anything in Christmas time, they would have to come back before the board to have permission for that, if approved. The visitor management would be a time ticketing system to control the number of visitors and fewer than 20 parking spaces to reduce traffic congestion. I will note that with our zoning resolution rewrite, we don't have a minimum parking space requirement anymore. This 20 space figure was self-imposed by the applicant. The safety measures that they will also go to utilize are proper signage and designated pedestrian areas. So this is a look at the parcel, and I'm just going to outline basically the area that this will be involved in, excluding this barn. There's some sort of cut up where this barn is left with the Schuberts. So it'll be about 4 acres that's north of the current Schubert property. This is an aerial overview that kind of shows us the area. I admit it looks very flat on this. Miss Petty and I visited the site today, and it's not very flat at all. So looks deceiving on this photo, but we'll get to some more. This shows the more general area. We have a lot of panhandle lots, and this just illustrates we have a very rural character, sparsely populated in this area. Now, the proposed U-Pick Ivory B would be at this bend. So I think a lot of the concern that the applicant has brought proposals for is to calm the kind of traffic and parking situations that might occur at what's not necessarily the safest bend you could have in the township. I will need the applicant to provide the board a little context since there's no legend, north arrow, or scale on this map. This one also has some stuff delineated, but I know that the applicant has a presentation and should be able to get more into the details of what the site would look like if approved. So, as I said, Ms. Petty and I visited the site today. I took a picture at the for sale sign, which is along the bend of the road, down into the property. And if you look at the level here, you can see that the property is pretty much steeps back at a high angle. And you can see a picture of part of that bend since it's basically an S-curve. This is just part of it. But this, I'm standing right down here where the date is, just right by there. That's where the for sale sign is. So you can see there are some flat parts of the parcel, but there's a lot of it that's not quite flat. Okay, so the issues we have here are two. In the table, the retail activities are prohibited in the RER Rural Estate Residential Zoning District. So if she's selling lavender and she's not 5 acres and it designated agricultural by the Hamilton County Auditor, then that can only best be described as either retail or agribusiness maybe. But retail is expressly prohibited in RER, and agribusiness is not listed upon the table at all, which would make it inherently prohibited. And then 3.4.3b, minimum setbacks, all buildings, exterior storage, refuse, or supplies must be 100 feet from all lot lines. And I don't know that that's quite the proposal the applicant's making. If it is, then that would be a moot point. Staff findings, as always, are in your packet using the Duncan factors, but I've outlined the 3 most important. It's staff's opinion the request is substantial in nature. Now remember that. It is substantial, even though I don't think it will substantially alter the character of the neighborhood. It's substantial because it's along that S-curve, and any kind of business in a residential area, I'm going to call it substantial. And then 7 would be, it's staff's opinion the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting with proper conditions the requested variance. So staff recommendation is approval with conditions. And, okay. Master parking plan shall be submitted to the development department outlining parking, traffic flow, ingress and egress, and all other elements of the plan to deal with customer traffic. Number 2, any public operations of the business shall be limited to the months of April through September to minimize traffic and disruption during non-peak agricultural season. Number 3, public access shall be restricted to daylight hours such as 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. to reduce potential disturbances to neighboring properties. Number 4, a timed ticketing system must be implemented to manage visitor numbers and prevent excessive traffic congestion on Althouse Road and surrounding areas. Number 5, all parking must occur on site with no overflow onto public roadways or neighboring properties. Number 6, no unapproved signage referencing the business shall be placed upon the site or upon any neighboring parcel or public right-of-way. Number 7, the use of amplified sound systems or bright lighting shall be prohibited. Number 8, any community-based workshops or events shall be limited to a small group of fewer than 25 participants per session and shall require advanced scheduling and adequate parking. Number 9, the farm must comply with all local, state, and federal laws, including health, safety, and agricultural standards. And number 10, the approval of this request is granted to only the portion of the property shown in the submitted site plan, not the rest of the Schubert property. You'll notice the theme in there is parking and making sure that people stay safe with parking and traffic. I believe that is the biggest concern in this case. Mr. Roberto.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Come on and give your presentation, please.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Lyon. The property we're looking to buy is 8425 Althouse Road, which will have a different address once the parcel's split. So thank you for having me here today. I'm here to discuss the Ivory B, which is the lavender farm that we are proposing here on this. So just a quick overview of the presentation. I'm going to go over who we are, what is the Ivory B Lavender Farm, what we can provide to the community, our anticipated farm operations, how we'll manage traffic and parking with minimal disruption, as well as our beneficial environmental impact. Next slide. So this is my family. Unfortunately, my husband Gabe couldn't be here tonight due to business. He's at Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa. So you get stuck with me. From left to right, there's my son Mason, little guy's Logan, the crazy one's Rhett, bigger one's Aiden. So we are residents of Cincinnati's West Side. I went to Macaulay High School, born and raised here, went to UC for undergrad and graduate school. So what is the Ivory Bee? So our goal is to aim to provide an immersive experience for our community by giving an opportunity to experience a lavender farm. So if you haven't seen a lavender farm, my family and I have been to probably over 20 in the past 2 years researching this. So there's a picture of me in one. But the closest one here to Colerain Township is about 45 minutes away. We're planning on hoping to have around 1,400 plants for the community to enjoy when visiting. We also want to have some honeybees on the site in a safe designated area, which will produce all natural honey and provide a unique opportunity to observe natural pollination. So some of the unique benefits that this can bring to the Colerain community, it can increase spending at local businesses, it can provide learning experiences about agriculture and sustainable farming practices, it can encourage community involvement and foster a sense of local pride. It also offers therapeutic benefits through lavender's calming properties and aromatherapy, as well as promoting sustainable agriculture and supporting local biodiversity. So with the contingencies that were placed on this, I've narrowed these slides to reflect that. So we are planning to host visitors from April to September within daylight hours and utilizing an online ticketing system, which I'll mention in the next slide. The focus of the farm will be on You Pick Lavender. If you don't know what You Pick Lavender is, when visitors show up, they get a pair of shears and get to go out into the fields and cut a fresh bouquet of lavender. Visitors will pre-purchase tickets for specific times in 1 hour increments. We're also going to put in a 30-minute grace period in between those to allow for in and out parking. We'll also have 18 time slots available for purchase for each session, which will limit vehicle traffic and parking congestion. We are also focusing on community workshops, coming from a religious background and also working currently in a religious health system. Community is a big part of our culture. We also want to educate the community and have demonstrations of essential oil. So I want to address traffic concerns. As I mentioned, we'll have an online ticket system, just as you would know, like Eventbrite or anything to buy an online ticket. We will only have 18 spots available for each hour, as well as a 30-minute grace period in between. What that averages up to, given the time of, say, 9 to 7 for one full day, the average hourly increase on Alt House Road would be 12 vehicles per hour. And that's if we sold out every time slot and if each person drove separately. So while we also have community experiences in there for April through September, the majority of lavender isn't in bloom until late June through August, which greatly limits that time that it would be in bloom to pick. Furthermore, my husband and I both have full-time jobs, so this is not a 7-day-a-week operation. We're really targeting weekends in the summer and maybe a weekday or two evening before 7 during the week. So next slide, please. So here's, as David mentioned, our current thinking for parking as well as the fields. The neon green square up there is where we will build our house. We're building a black and white farmhouse. Building plans should be coming through hopefully soon. The purple is where the lavender fields are, and then that little, I guess we'll call it maybe gray, dark green, that is where the parking will be. So in addition to our ticketing system, which safeguards and limits to only 18 open slots, we are planning to have parking available there for 20 cars. And that's if each person that buys a slot drives separate. So that's worst case scenario. Putting the parking there eliminates that S-curve, as well as putting it by the field so it's not adjacent to anybody else's property. Also having that 30-minute gap in between any time slots will allow for in and out traffic with minimal overlap. I did try to put in a table just to show if we did do, say, the 9 to 7 on a Saturday or Sunday, what that would look like as far as tickets go. So you can see the from on the left-hand side has that 30-minute gap accounted for, just in case if someone were to arrive a little bit early for a next session or anything like that we can't account for right now. And finally, I know we're all tired. We are committed to an all-natural farming experience. We'll not utilize any pesticides or herbicides to maintain our natural environment. As lavender is a Mediterranean plant, I know, David, you mentioned the slope. Where we're putting the lavender is where the most of the slope is on the property, which is what lavender needs. It does not like water. So having that, any excess water go into, there's already like a little, I guess I call it a dry stream. It'll just naturally flow where it is now. So no changes there to the environment, no chemicals, nothing that we're doing will affect that. The parking will be on the flat part up by the road, as we had shown in the sketch. And just a few benefits to our community. It promotes pollinators, promotes a natural habitat for pollinators, butterflies, and birds, as well as biodiversity in our community. Some honeybee benefits are the more pollination you have, the better for our other fields, for our neighbors, and even. So this is my last slide. This is just a few pictures of my kids and I going to a few lavender farms. It's a very peaceful experience, very quiet, calming, and that's what we hope to do.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? I have Dale Schweltman. You want to come give your presentation or your feedback?
Can I approach the board with the drawing?
You can. If you can give me the poster, and if you can talk about it at the podium so that it's recorded what you're going to say. Why don't you hold it back there, talk about it, and then we can look at it. We need to be able to hear what you're saying.
Okay, I'll approach it.
Thank you, sir. Well, we need to have it recorded though, so you need to be on a microphone. So when you speak, it's okay if you speak back there, and then when you want to come up here and have us look at it, we'll do that after you speak. How's that? So give your name and address for the record.
I'm Dale Schwetman. My wife, Julianne Schwetman. We purchased the property adjacent to this parcel at 8569 Old House Road, 50 years or more ago. And when we bought it, it was zoned residential and/or agriculture. I feel that we paid a premium for that property to build our dwelling on. We could have very well went out further and bought property a lot cheaper without the zoning. We paid a premium for the zoning with residential and/or agriculture. No mention of any retailing of any kind or any public operation. As you can see, I think you had a shot of it up there before. Parcel they proposed their operation on is this spot. Our property adjoins it right here. As you can see, it's quite a precarious situation, one of the most precarious situations with curves in the township. I've checked it out. I think I have this vehicle on pretty good scale with the size of the road and the curves and the dwelling. Hubers has these in Bluefield. And our drive is up here, just a short distance, a couple 100 feet. After our drive, you encounter another curve like this, where there's numerous wrecks, just as there are numerous mishaps here. We lose mailboxes, we have cars in front yards. A good part of them escape. Then there are other ones that wind up in people's front yards and do significant damage. One of the most precarious situations, like I say, in the township. Now, a proposal to do any retailing whatsoever to us is, we object to it because we bought it with the zoning. In fact, 40 years ago, we took part in helping obtaining local zoning because we thought that was the way to go. Hopefully, it'll behoove us to have made that effort. I don't know. But as you can see, the mishaps here, cars going here, going there, more incidents yet at the curb beyond our house. These are the correct measurements. I don't know if you can see them from there. They're tight bends. Would you like to look at it?
We can, I know I can see it. I'm about the rest of the board. We can look at it. Thank you. We'll look at it if you want to talk to it about it from the podium.
We strongly feel that to vary our zoning, any variance whatsoever is gonna hurt our property value. And I just saw a daily increase in the traffic count to an additional 126 cars daily. I suspect that would double the traffic on our road. There's a mention to a parking, to accommodate parking and a structure of some sort. Did I hear that correct?
Can you pull the
structure?
David, can you pull up the
Yep.
shot showing the potential? There you go.
So this is a little different than what she showed us. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll pull her presentation back up.
Thank you. Can you zoom? Okay, perfect.
Was there a proposal for a new structure included in it?
I believe they're building a house.
A dwelling?
They're building a house, yes, a residence.
A single-family dwelling? Because we fought that when Myron Decker put a subdivision in down the road from us, and they tried to get multi-dwellings. And we caught it, and we prevented the multi-dwellings, but they put a strictly single-family dwelling. I'm asking, is that proposal a single-family dwelling?
Yes.
Yes.
And a workshop mentioned?
Okay, we can ask that question of the applicant.
It's vague. It's too vague. The proposed marketing of retail is vague. Do you agree?
I
mean,
presented.
where are we at on this? I got to know to what extent they're getting permission for.
I presented the staff report with my findings in the packet and took every condition that was possible to protect the neighboring properties, if approved. So that's where I'm at.
And that's, the board is now asking questions and trying to get the answers that you're looking for as well. So if you bring questions to us, we're gonna go ahead and, we're making notes. And then when it comes time for question and answers, we'll ask the applicant the questions.
To us, it doesn't resemble a single-family residence situation that we're gonna be looking at. Our house sits back from the somewhat, and every time we look out the window, we're gonna see whatever they create.
At this point, it's a lavender field, what we're talking about, so.
You get the sale of products and the retail sale of honey or whatever, pretty vague. What are they gonna, can they possibly escalate this? Down the road?
She has given her limitations on herself in her presentation. She has given limitations to herself in her presentation as far as number of cars, timing, so I don't, she can't go beyond what she's presented today.
I think the bottom line is that there's a definite safety issue. You can check with the township. They investigate a lot of accidents in this stretch of road. Most of them go unreported because they get back on the road and they're gone. These proposals are vague. I'm afraid that I hope our efforts to obtain local zoning away from the county were not in vain. That's all I can say.
We would like to keep it residential, not.
We bought residential property. It was zoned residential and/or agriculture, period. This is an escalation. It's not a minute escalation. We strongly wish that this is all taken into consideration. I personally see more accidents. And when they make a lot of these accidents, they're responding with law enforcement, taking them out of service. They're taking fire companies out of service to make these accidents. Yeah. 126 additional cars on our road. What do you think? Can I pose a question?
You're posing the question currently.
What do you think?
We're not gonna respond to anything right now, and that's not time for a question and answer. You're giving a presentation.
Our most recent wreck was a car came around a bend and ended up in the neighbor's driveway across the street. Luckily, nobody was walking down getting their mail on that one. So, just to do it and then witness more accidents, no. And it's just too vague as to what kind of additional structures they're gonna be retailing supposedly honey out of. How many cars are will we be looking at in a parking lot that we didn't figure on when we bought residential and/or agriculture? Never dreamed of looking out the window and seeing a structure of any kind, a large parking lot with cars in it.
Say, please consider our views. Won't wait till
Yeah, please take us into consideration. We're not gonna be around that much longer, but to be aggravated with it's too vague. It's just too vague.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
is Rick Lottinger? Did I say it correctly? You want to come up and give a presentation, or? So you don't plan to speak? Okay. Yep, it's all right. Want to give you the opportunity. How about Debbie Peace?
Debbie Pease, 8232 Eagle Creek Road.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm looking, and I'm just so appreciative that I got the letter, okay? And I'm not up on Old House or anything, but I'm on Eagle Creek. Did you come to the property at sometime today or something over there, here?
Yes, you may.
Because he said, did you go
Yeah,
downhill?
Miss Petty and I visited the property this afternoon.
Did you walk out and did you see when it goes down the hill?
We described that in the
That's where
presentation.
I live.
Okay.
So this property, if I'm in my backyard, I'm looking up, okay? And that's where all that is. And the young lady, it sounds wonderful what she wants to do, but I also heard her say, and I don't know much about what's going on, but I heard her say that lavender doesn't like water. And there, you talk about, it's crazy hill down, and this is going to be like 200 feet from my property that goes up the hill. But, and I heard her say something about a creek. I don't know if she's talking about when you're going down the hill, there is a creek that runs from over to other neighbors' property, Mingus and stuff. There is all that, if I can see correctly, there's 100 acres of woods right there. 100. We own like 5.5. So, and I understand this gentleman's, opinion. It's always been country. It's always been, the neighbors, everybody has like 5 acres at least. They're not used to all that. But I'm just worried about, where's that water gonna run? Down the hill to like us? Because we're looking up, I could see their houses. So, and then what it does, it washes it away because it's already extremely, I don't know what you looked at or how far you went. It's extremely, and it can wash away. I don't know, I need more information because I wasn't used to, I wasn't ready to know everything about it. But that's why I came, and I appreciate the letter, because I think there's more to it. I think we need to know. And I don't even know, I wanted to walk over there myself. I can walk up my hill, and that is a part of our hill. I don't even know how close 200 feet is to what. I haven't walked it. We walk in the woods sometimes. We used to know. And like that gentleman said right here, he won't be around forever. I won't either. I've been in Colerain Township for 50 years, but my grandson will be after me, and that's where he wants to buy our property. So I'm just here to find out more information on what it's going to do. I don't want to say yes to something that's going to destroy or do any damage to all of the property around. I don't know, and I wanted her to say that. I was like, because we have lots of hills over there. Eagle Creek, Thompson, Old House, they're all hills. I'm like, I'm going down, Old House or nothing but hills. It's not flat. So, I'm going down Lockwood Hill. Oh my God, Lockwood Hill. I can't go that way in the winter. Got to go back around Thompson. So for someone who's lived there that long, we're just used to our privacy. When I got the letter, I said, 200 feet. You're not used to that, close to my property. So I just want to know more. If they do that, is it going to cause more damage? It's already. You should go out there and see it. Because I'm looking up, and that's where is that water going to be coming down? creek, when it rains really hard, that creek floods up real high. You can hear it, the roaring water. So I don't know anything about measurements and, you know, the property. I don't know what it's gonna do. They may be looking at wonderful, but I don't know if they know, but when you're the property owner, you're like, okay, what's going on? What's it gonna do? That's all maybe it'll be okay. I would just like to know more information.
Okay, we will try to get it for you.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, ma'am. I see no one else on my sign-up sheet. Anyone else want to speak in favor or against? Did you sign in? Okay, I'll swear you in. So do you swear to tell the whole truth? Hold your hand up for me. Swear the whole truth, nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say I do. Name and address for the record.
Lori McMullen, 10057 Menominee Drive.
I'm a slow writer and you're a fast talker. So Lori what?
McMullen, McMullin.
Okay, address?
10057 Menominee. It's spelled Menomine.
Gotcha.
I didn't anticipate wanting to talk tonight, but a big priority that we have in Colerain is our pollinator program. In Northbrook, we installed the mural at the Northbrook Shopping Center, Keep It Pollinated. We have a huge pollinator garden in Northbrook, and I would love to have something unique in Colerain, and I don't think you can get much more unique than a lavender farm. Oh, there, thank you. We hear on, of course, Facebook all the time, you know, we don't want mattress stores, we don't want chicken restaurants, we don't want any more whatever. But a lavender farm just sounds amazing to me. I would love it in my backyard. I have room. I really don't. But I would love if you would support this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else that I missed? I see no one else on my sheet. Can we close the public portion? Someone make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second's been made. Discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Miss Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sato?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. And so who did I start off with? Like, Ms. Owens, you want to start us off?
I just want clearance or clarification, I should say, on what the variance is for. It's just for the use of
It's retail
basically
space.
because it's a commercial space. Correct.
Yeah, and there would need to be a condition on there as well, that of what type of retail, what could be sold there, the way that we did this with the event centers.
Right, and so there is no issue, and I'm making a statement on this just based on what I've heard. There's no issue of variance whether a house can be built there.
No, a house can absolutely be built there. Yeah.
Or that there could be any type of farm as long as there's no commercial sale.
Correct.
Or plotted land for a parking lot if a person just wanted just the sale of honey and or lavender.
No, because to have a parking lot, you'd have to have a primary structure, like a house. Is that what you're
Correct.
asking?
But if there's a house there and they decided they wanted a lot the size to hold 20 cars, they could do that and would not have to come before us for any type of variance.
Yeah, it just depends on the impervious surface ratio and such.
So basically, when we're talking about what kind of structure would be there, the only structure we're talking about is a house.
Correct.
And there would be no reason to come before the board to have permission to grow your own lavender.
Correct.
As many acres of lavender as you wanted to grow, correct?
Correct.
And you also could have a lot to hold 20 cars if you had guests without coming before the board.
Correct, I believe
So
so.
basically, the issues of what the structure is has been resolved because there is no other structure besides the house.
Correct.
We're just here to decide whether or not the commercial use for sale of honey and or lavender.
Correct.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bartle?
Well, you just brought up an interesting point. So is the house going to be used for your business?
Nope. We are living there.
No?
No, that's not for the business. That's just for us to live at.
Okay. And then where would the classes be held?
So the only, say, classes or workshops that we've thought of or want to do, or maybe like a wreath making class or a bouquet building class, which would be out in the lavender fields with that same time ticketing system and that same time constraint. So out there in the field.
Okay, yeah, so no structure to hold classes?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the topography of the site, you're not altering the topography?
No, so the whole front up by the road is flat. We are purposefully putting the house on the S-curve to eliminate that. And where the parking will also be flat. As far as the hill, that's what we need for lavender. If you ever seen in France, all the lavender, they're all on hills. So that's what they need as far as drainage. When I mentioned about water drainage, that is not us watering, that is rain. So that will naturally flow where it's already flowing now.
Okay. The parking lot, is that going to be gravel or asphalt?
Gravel.
Gravel, okay. And you said you're having beehives?
Yes.
Was that indicated? It could be anywhere on the site, within 100 feet of a property line?
Based off what I believe the zoning, we can have up to 12. We're gonna start off with 2.
Okay.
But based off, I think our CAUV and how the zoning is per animal acre, from what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, there could be up to 12 is the actual allowance.
And will you have any kind of sign at the front, at the parking area?
So we are looking into a potential sign, whatever would be approved, that would have our address on it as well as the farm right there. So we don't have anything that we've already bought. We want to see, I guess, we're rule followers. So whatever the rules are that we're allowed to do, we'll do.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, if I don't get my ticket online, I'm just driving around on a Sunday and I see this interesting farm, I might just pull in.
Yeah, that's why we will have extra parking spots. The time ticketing system is basically counting 18 people as if they all drove separate, which most people coming are going to come with grandma, with their mom, with sisters, with their husband. So we don't even anticipate that many cars. I actually think it's half, so probably 9 at any given time. But it will strictly be enforced with the online ticketing system. That's
Okay.
from our research of other lavender fields. That's worked really well.
Okay, that's all, thanks.
Mr. Saito?
Yes, sticking with the parking, how are you going to enforce the hour parking? How will it be enforced? Because I'm saying this as knowledge that my wife loves lavender farms and she can be there for 8 hours of the day. So how is she going to get by with 1 hour parking?
Yes, that's actually a great point. So as far as the 1 hour, it will be noted on the ticket. Just like if you have a photography session and you go out, this is your time, okay, now we're finished. We also did a lot in that 30-minute grace period. But from all the lavender farms that we visited across the country, we really can't stay more than 30 minutes. You can cut your bouquet probably in about 10 minutes, and then you're out of there. So there's a huge grace period. So,
she can be there all day, but so how would you enforce her on your parking permits?
I think for that situation that If we see an issue, we'll address it, but if it's a case-by-case basis and there's no one else there and she wants to stay and hang out and we don't have other people coming, then just the natural person in me will tell her just to hang out a little bit longer.
Okay.
But again, we will enforce if we do have other people coming.
Because I've been to many lavender farms in the Midwest, and parking is a problem at many of them, and you have to park on the street and everything else, and I can see the street is not conducive to parking on it, so.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we put, actually the other slide, David, if you don't mind, why we are putting the house at the S curve so that the parking lot will be directly on the straight part there, right next to the field.
Okay, that's all I had.
Mr. Shep?
I don't have any questions.
I have one more.
Maybe I'll ask it. I get to ask questions every once in a while because they usually hog all the questions because I'm last. So you're not doing any irrigation. You're relying on the weather. And so if you were to install these lavender, what are they, bushes? Or what are
Plants.
Okay, lavender plants. Is that going to change the water absorption? Are you going to increase your water absorption and less water going into the stream?
No, they don't like water. So with it being a hill, it's gonna just do the natural flow down. It's not gonna take up any more. It's not gonna really change because that's a hill. That's what they like. So
Okay, so you're going to add mulching around it because I think I saw the fields there had some mulch around it.
Because it is a hill, we'll put the plastic wrap just down the row, so that way there's no mulch or any excess dirt that's going down into I call it a creek bed area. I'm not really sure what it's called, but that's where any water from that hill has been flowing for years.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the yellow box in the back corner here?
Oh, that's where we were gonna put our 2 beehives, just to get it away from people that are there, just for safety.
Okay. And so the structure in this particular case is your home. We're talking about a gravel lot, which our township doesn't care if they don't care for that, so.
I'm glad you asked. You do have to pave the curb cut.
We can
But
certainly do that.
I can't remember, I'd have to look number of feet back. You're allowed to have gravel if you're over an acre. But you do have to pave the part just because if you kick gravel on the road, especially right there, it could be dangerous to motorcyclists.
Understood. We can certainly do that.
And it's not indicated on the site plan. Did you plan on screening that parking lot from the road? I'm not sure if you were wondering about that too.
We're actually open to doing whatever the board recommends for this, whatever they think would be best as far as safety or rules. So yes, we are certainly open to that, and if that needs to be a condition on here as well, we're happy to do that as well.
You addressed my honeybee dangers. Park surfacing, we talked about irrigation, watershed, we talked about structure, gravel, previous experiences. So Mr. Sito's had some experiences going to lavender farms. I personally have not. In your other visits, were there any, what problems could you perceive, based upon your visits to other properties? I mean, you've heard the neighbors talk about traffic.
Yes, yeah.
And so we can't really control traffic. Traffic is going to be traffic, and people are going to still run off the road because people see a straight lane and they think they can go 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they see the curve and they're too late. They've slid off the road.
Yeah. I think one of the positives is if you are coming to a lavender farm, you're coming to experience that calmness and be out in nature and not going to drive reckless in a situation trying to get there. That being said, I hope that our time-ticketed system, as well as having extra parking, knowing people are going to carpool together, knowing that for the average hourly rate, it's 12 additional cars on that road. I think that will be fine.
And, all right, so what about you get the guy that's ticketed and he's 12 o'clock appointment, it's 11 59, and they're trying to race to get there because they got to meet that time frame.
That's
So,
why we have that 30-minute grace period in there. Yes, yes.
Right.
We want, just like I tell my kids, I want you there safe. So yes, we took that into consideration when organizing the times.
okay, now you've heard some of the concerns of your fellow neighbors. Are there any concerns that you could address that would put their mind at ease?
Yeah, I think for the water situation, that is just.
And
oh,
talk
sorry,
to, you
sorry.
just talk to the board, but
Sorry.
he's going to hear it if you speak loudly in the.
Yes, so for the water situation, that's just natural rainwater. No chemicals going into any of our plants or any of our soil, so no need there. Parking, I think having the lot on the straightaway of the road, as well as the time ticketed system will minimize the amount of cars and traffic. Also allowing that, in time, out time, where there's not cars coming in and out exactly at the same time, will be beneficial. There's no other buildings going on the property, just our house, so.
All right. I have no further questions. Anyone else have a question? Ms. Shupp?
Yeah, just to the retail that the gentleman was expressing concern with. So I'm hearing, I would assume you'll be selling honey,
Yes,
and it's going to be limited by 12, potentially 12 hives. And lavender, I guess the income comes from people coming out, picking it, making bouquets, and possible classrooms. Is there any other income, any other retail business?
not at this time. We both have full-time jobs. I think this is all we can manage, especially just doing it on the weekends. In late June, August is really our target. Maybe some of those workshop classes on the off times of that. And then a weeknight or two. But that's really the capacity we can handle.
That was it.
I had a question.
Okay, Mr. Bartle?
So are the lavender plants are perennials?
Yes.
So you don't, once they're planted, you don't have a lot of maintenance?
Correct.
So it's not like you need a lot of tractors and stuff on the property?
Nope, we have one small tractor that we'll use, and that's it.
Okay. And then just to be clear, from the parking lot towards those trees, is that going downhill or uphill? Downhill.
After where the parking will end, that's when that
goes
starts to
down.
slow down. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, any drainage is already there, and it's headed towards those trees. Okay. And that's where that dry creek bed is, I guess?
Correct.
Okay. That's it.
Any other questions?
One other question.
Mr. Saito, go ahead.
Is there going to be a fee to come to the farm besides a parking fee, or?
It'll be a fee to pick your bouquet. So that'll be the sale of crops, which our CAUV designated land is what we want to keep that for.
But if you just wanted to come to walk the farm, there's no fee?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions.
So anyone can walk on your farm then?
The online ticketed system will be like a parking pass, so you do have to have that parking pass is sort of how I'm classifying it now to come.
Okay.
But yes, the actual sale of bouquet, because someone may want to come and once they're there, buy 2 bouquets and take one home or take one to a neighbor. So that'll be done there.
All this oil infusing and the beehive processing, is that done in your home then?
So the oil diffuser, we will actually probably have maybe on our back porch. It's a still. And what you do is you take any of the lavender that isn't picked or extra, and you put it in there, and it'll actually distill essential oil.
Okay, and then the beehives processing?
Not necessarily processing, but I think one of the classes that we had talked about was just showing. So I taught college nutrition for 8 years, and one of the things that was so troublesome to me is my students didn't know where their food comes from or how it even gets there. So actually just showing people, here's the hive, here's the process it goes through to get honey, and knowing where your food source comes from is sort of my idea behind that.
But
again,
you're going to have to remove the honey because at some point then you'll cause a swarm if they don't.
Correct, yes, absolutely. That'll all be taken into consideration.
Okay. Any other questions?
maybe this would just be a discussion between the board. If the board saw fit to approve this, and there's a slight discussion briefly from David about screening and the parking, would that be something that would make it look more of a commercial or a business than
Screened in parking? I mean,
versus
like bushes?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Yeah, landscaping, that would be a good idea. I was just like
Yeah,
screening.
not fencing, but actually landscape screening is what you were referencing.
So it doesn't take away from the residential character of the neighborhood.
Is that a given per a master parking plan, or do we have to call that out?
Well, that would more deal with if she had actual striped interior parking. With the gravel, I think it's going to be different. So yeah, I think we would need to call it out. I would have put it as a condition, but this is new to my eyes. You know, we had just discussed the presentation. So yeah, I think you need a landscape buffer there.
Okay. Any other discussions, questions? I think you can sit down, ma'am. I think we're close to closing that. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the, what are we closing?
No, we're already closed.
No, we're already
We
closed.
just need
You
to
wanted a
make
motion.
a motion for the
That's right. It's been a long night.
approve or deny.
I will make a motion to conditionally approve the requested variance, including the 10 conditions that were presented to us by staff, with the addition of number 11, which would be to landscape the parking area with landscaping of some appropriate type that is approved by staff
10-foot buffer.
as a buffer.
10-foot buffer.
10-foot buffer? You mean,
No. Depth into the
oh,
property.
a 10-foot wide buffer between the parking and the road?
Yeah. I think I would recommend that.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there looks to me there's already a whole bunch of some sort of buffering along the road, bushes or trees.
You want me? I'll
Well-
go on street view.
Yeah, if you can pull it up, it looks like there's something already existing. They just might have to.
Can someone tell me the address again? 8245.
8425.
Okay. Okay, so the entry would be right here-ish.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so I don't see any buffer at this time.
Yeah, from this photo, there's something there, so obviously it's been removed.
Okay.
Okay.
You're good on how I said number 11?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay, so a motion has been made to conditionally approve with the conditions set forth by staff, with an addition to the 10-foot buffer established around the parking area. Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, landscape buffer between the road and the parking area, right? Okay.
And so we'll give that. A motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been made. Discussion? This is your time to, you had something to discuss? You got it.
We discussed 11.
Okay. Any discussion? I see none. Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartelt?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Sato?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Motion's been approved. Appeal's been approved.
We'll be in touch.
All right, this brings us to the last and final case. Sorry for this person, Barry Miller. So, case number 24-31. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Perfect.
And I also extend my apologies for the delay. So this is a variance. The parcel number and address are listed in the packet and on the screen. The zoning district is RER, Rural Estate Residential. The applicant is Barry Miller. The property owners are Barry and Christine Miller. The overview, the request is a variance to reduce the rear yard setback requirement for a carport. The location would be on the south side of the residence on the property. The carport design would be attached to the home and it would complement the existing architectural features of the home. The setback issue is that setback would not meet the 60-foot rear yard setback requirement due to property restraints. The topography upon the property is very steep in areas, and you'll see that in some photos. The lot type is a large panhandle lot at the end of a private lane shared by 8 homes. The challenges are that it's a heavy wooded and hilly terrain, steep drop-offs surround the home, and limited flat land for alternative locations for this structure. The applicant also notes the practicality of his request, and the carport would be in the most cost-effective and feasible location if approved. Building a detached structure would be deemed infeasible due to substantial grading that would be needed, massive retaining wall requirements, and the high cost and environmental impact of such design. The purpose that Mr. Miller has is to essentially protect his equipment and vehicles and minimize the visual neighborhood disruptions. The property is, however, remote and shielded, so that is probably already a given. No construction has commenced upon the property. So you see, it's a standard rectangular shaped property with a panhandle that goes and is shared by 8 properties. Ms. Petty and I visited the property today, right before the meeting, and it is extremely steep, narrow. In both of our opinions, there is nowhere else you could put a garage, a carport, a shed, anything without massive cost. So here's the whole panhandle you can see. So he's very far back from the road. I doubt any neighbors can view his property whatsoever. If they can, it's not significant in my opinion. So this is the area where he would put the carport. If you turn to the screen, this picture was taken today. So he would put it on the right side of his garage, and you can see the garage door there for a little bit of reference. Now keep in mind I walked down this path to see what was behind the house, to see how steep it was. I thought, when I first looked at it on a map, I thought, well, there's plenty of places he can put a garage. But when I went around the property, this is what's around the corner. There's a very steep drop off. And this is what is on the opposite side of the garage door. If you notice the height of that retaining wall, that's what would have to be done in order to put any kind of structure pretty much anywhere on his property. You notice he even has these ballards, I think, continuous curbs here so that nobody drives off the edge, because that would be fatal. So potentially. So yeah, his property is very limited. So the zoning issue is the rear yard setback in the RER Rural Estate Residential Zoning District is 60 feet, and he was proposing about half that. These are the staff findings from the Duncan factors, and I will highlight the 3 most important. It's staff's opinion the request itself is not substantial in nature because nobody can see it. It's staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered because there is no neighborhood. And it's staff's opinion the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done granting this approval, largely because we would have never known if he wouldn't have come and told us about it. And also, there's nowhere else he can put it. So our recommendation is approval with conditions, and the only condition is that the carport should meet the requirements of the zoning resolution, including the requirement that carports must be constructed of a rigid material and attached to an existing principal structure, and it must be architecturally compatible with the said principal structure. So we don't want any metal prefab carports nailed to the side of your house. Mr. Roberto.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? The only one left in the room, so I'm assuming it's.
Good evening. I'm Barry Miller. I'm at 7853 Thompson Road.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Peter said is a variance on the rear yard requirement, being because I didn't know it was a rear yard. I thank you for the information because I was sworn that's my side yard. But there is no other place to put it. In fact, I spent considerable money having a pole barn drawn up only to realize it was $20,000 additional landscaping to be able to put the barn up, and that just kind of sunk it. So the carport seemed like the reason for the solution.
Okay. Thank you. You did well. You kept it brief, succinct. We appreciate that. All right, I see no one else on my list. Do we have anyone else speaking in favor or against? I see none. Can we close the public portion?
Make a motion to close the public portion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give Ms. Owens at this one.
You got to go raise an objection.
All right, so you might as well just come on back up here. We might have some questions for you. Mr. Saito, you want to start us off?
I have no.
Oh,
no
wait, hold on, I
questions
got
for
to pause, I gotta do a roll call vote, don't I?
Kind of,
Yeah. All right, so you just still stay there. We've had a motion and a second, discussion, none, roll call vote.
My turn. Okay. Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Miss Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Saito?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
But Mr. Roberto, I want you to start with,
I like that.
Thank you, you're yielding to me, appreciate that. You have no objections to the restrictions being applied that's gonna be in liking with the current residents, and it's gonna look and feel, and your wife comes home, or whoever comes home, they're gonna appreciate what you got there? All right, I have no other questions.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've got 4 other people on the board might ask a question, so.
Okay.
None?
Oh, let me get my list. No,
None?
no questions.
Mr. Saito?
No, no question.
Mr. Shup?
None.
All right, perfect. Now you can sit down.
All right, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve it with the condition.
Approve with the motion with the conditions written by the staff?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Miss Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Saito?
Yes.
And Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Brings us to,
We're not done yet, folks.
I know. Pick the longest night to go and do it and add something. Yeah, I want that, thank you. All right, so unfinished business, I have none. Approval of minutes, we've got August 28th minutes. Can we have a motion for approval of the August 28th minutes?
I make a motion to approve the August 28th minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been made, any discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Miss Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Saito?
Yes.
And Mr. Roberto?
Yes, and that brings us to September 25th minutes. We have a motion to approve the September 25th minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartolt?
Yes.
Miss Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Saito?
Yes.
And Mr. Roberto?
Yes. So when we get to skip December, next meeting is January 22nd of 24, and what time is that going to be?
24. It's of 25.
Yeah, of 25, and what time is that going to be?
That will be at 6:30. I'm glad you
6:30.
asked. I wanted to mention that.
So traditional time still?
Yes. But the next meeting after that will be at 6 o'clock.
All right. And then you have administrative matters?
I do. I'll get through it quick. So we had discussed several months ago about amending the bylaws because the first thing that popped out to me is that it said you had to pay by cash or check. And I guess if we're wanting to be neat and cross our T's and dot our I's, we just want to make sure that it doesn't say things like that are factually untrue. Nobody pays for BZA with cash or check. Everybody pays with the card. So there were a few other changes I made while we're at it. I added this, and I didn't put every change in this slideshow where I changed a couple words. I left off the slideshow. But I did put everything that I thought was worth mentioning. For example, I put there's 5 full members appointed for 5-year terms, 2 alternate members appointed for 2-year terms. All board members had to be residents of Colerain, and it didn't say any of that before. So I changed that we organize annually at the first meeting in February for officers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it said January. Chairperson presiding over the meeting. Okay, so I changed it. It always said zoning administrator / inspector. We don't have that title, either of those titles anymore. We haven't had inspector for a long time. We haven't had zoning administrator for over a year. So Board of Zoning Appeals administrator, being me, I think is more appropriate. So I changed it here after administrator in the bylaws, because that's what I put on all the documents anyway. I noted that it said every appeal had to be filed in writing. If you notice, over the last year, we don't have written applications anymore, so they have to be filed digitally, on digital forms. And then it was literally requiring 8 sets of plot plans for every applicant, and that's, really outdated, as we know. So I changed it to the following may be required at the discretion of the administrator or chairperson, and I put up to 8. So whereas somebody like Mr. Miller, Barry Miller here, if I made him go to an architect and pay for 8 plot plans for his carport, you know, government
expensive.
overreach. So that's why I edited this a little bit. I changed a couple things to administrator or board just for neatness. I totally deleted the section about paying in cash or check because I think you can just pay however you need to pay and whatever's accepted on our website. And then I added a little thing for multiple variances. So all applicants requesting multiple variances, whether on the same or different parcels, shall have all requests heard separately, with each request having a unique case number. So this was born out of it was Wawa when they came for White Oak, and they had several variances in one case. It just felt really messy to me because we could approve some of them and deny some of them, and then was the case approved? I don't know. So we had talked about doing every variance in a separate case. So that's kind of where that came from.
So is that a separate filing fee every time then?
We actually reduce it. So it's, I don't know if you guys know how much BZA is, but every case is $500. If you have multiple variances, it's $350 per variance.
Okay.
So, and then we now have something called master plans for use, parking, and signage. So since it said zoning certificate, I thought I'd add adopted master plan just to be neat. And that's all I have, and I'm happy to entertain any questions and hear what you guys think.
Anybody have questions for staff?
Nope.
Okay.
I have a
Nothing
question
for
for you.
Nothing for us to vote on, right?
Do you have to vote? I don't know. Do you know?
On this?
I know you guys did a update in 2023 with Springsteen. I'm not sure if you voted at that time. Do you remember? Okay.
I don't recall.
If you have to vote, I can go back and watch the meeting. If you have to vote, maybe we can hear it at the next meeting as well. And this could have just been a reading.
Did you just want to vote on it? Easier, get it out of the way and we're covered.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
So, it's,
A motion?
we need a motion to approve the amended rules and regulations amended November the 20th of 2024 by staff. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow, Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Good. There we go. We covered our bases.
And I have one item.
What's that?
Did I see the Board of Trustees, did they appoint a new BZA member?
Yeah, we have an orientation with them. We're awaiting scheduling on, so once we got a chance to meet with them and kind of introduce them to the process, we were going to introduce them kind of to you. So they will certainly be, Tracy, right? Tracy will be an alternate. She will be watching this meeting, I'm sure. Mr. DeMoss is moving out of the township, so we had to fill his position. Because now it says in the bylaws you have to live in the township.
Okay. You said, did you have a question for me? Or was the question on the vote?
That was about the vote.
Okay. All right. No other business. Can we adjourn? Okay, let's make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, she did that quick.
Yeah.
Second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
thank goodness. Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow, and Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.
Please.